Tonight, we're starting a story that will run over the next several weeks as a web of circumstance winds like a skein of wool gone mad around one Andrew Marsh. And like all good serials, this one is filled with hang-ups, takedowns, and cliffhangers. It's called Find the Lady. In the play by David Ellis, Andrew Marsh is not looking for, nor is he ready for, adventure. He's busy enough just trying to make ends meet for himself and his high-spending wife, Joyce. Then a cynical, smirking policeman shows up at his door to upset their precarious balance. And like a soccer ball, Andrew Marsh is suddenly in play.
Good evening, Sir Andrew Marsh.
Yes?
Detective Sergeant Rankin. I'd like a word with you.
I see your warrant card.
I was just going to show it to you. There you are, Mr. Marsh.
Thank you. What's this about, Sergeant?
Oh, perhaps it'd be better if I came in, sir. You don't want your neighbours seeing you talking to policemen.
You think they'd guess what you are?
They tell me I look like a typical copper. So if you don't mind...
Come in, Sergeant.
Thanks. Nice flat you've got, Mr. Marsh.
We like it.
Yes. Different to the sort of homes most of our customers have. Do you mind if I sit down?
Please do.
Thanks. Do you know what it's like being on your feet all day, Mr. Marsh?
I can imagine.
Oh, you're one of these lucky blokes that earns his living sitting behind a desk, eh?
I'm on my feet some of the time.
Doing what, Mr. Marsh?
I beg your pardon.
How do you earn your living?
I sell second-hand cars.
Not much of a job, is it?
Why? You looking for recruits for the police force?
Not right now, I'm not. You didn't buy that in this country, did you?
What?
That oversized, what do you call it, the poof?
As a matter of fact, I bought it in a bazaar in Champollion Street in Cairo. It's made of camel hide, and I paid £12 for it. Would you like to see the receipt?
Oh, I'm not interested in the shopping you did in Egypt, Mr. Marsh. When were you there, by the way?
3 years ago.
Where do you do your shopping in London? For instance, if I mentioned Rutland's of Bond Street and Wiley's of Oxford Street, would you know who they are?
I've heard of them.
They have this sort of customers who always pay by cheque. You've never used their shops?
Not that I can remember. My wife might have been a customer of theirs.
Might have been, Mr. Marsh. Past tense?
From what I've heard about them, they don't put tickets on their goods. You buy first and ask the price later.
That's about it.
At the moment, I have to know what it's going to cost me before I say, wrap it up, I'll take it.
You've got this flat on a lease, haven't you?
Yes, 5 years.
Yes, the rent must be, now, seeing you're only half an hour from the West End, I'd say, £500-600 a year? How do you manage to pay that much, Mr. Marsh?
Sergeant, exactly what are you doing here? Making inquiries about my financial status, finding out about my shopping habits, or just resting your feet?
Could say I'm doing a bit of each, sir. Your wife at home, Mr. Marsh?
No.
Not home from the office yet?
She doesn't work. As a matter of fact, she's at the hairdresser's.
Oh.
Do you think we could get to the point?
Yes, I don't see why not. Well, it's like this. Rutland's and Wiley's and a few more shops like them they've been having second thoughts about being so free and easy on this business of taking cheques. You see, someone's taken advantage of their good nature.
Really?
Yes. Mind you, these ritzy shops are not the only ones who've been taken for mugs. The big department stores have copped it as well. In fact, it's getting a bit out of hand.
What is?
I thought I'd explain that. I'm talking about the dud cheque racket, Mr. Marsh.
Oh, I see.
The Yard have had to set up a special sort of section to deal with it. But let's get one thing straight, though. When I say dud cheque, I don't mean the bouncer, the one that a bloke gives you and then it comes back from your bank marked RD, meaning the bloke's no funds in his account. When I say dud cheque, I mean the villain who's signed it has no bank account at all. He's used a fictitious name and he's given a false address. You with me so far, Mr. Marsh?
Yes, but I don't see why you're giving me this glimpse behind the scenes, fascinating though it is.
You'll see in a minute. See, when these dud cheques get to this special section of the Yard, they keep an eye on numbers. Because every now and then they find a bunch of numbers that follow each other. In other words, the cheques all came out of the same book.
Yes?
Right. Well, I'm concerned about one of these books that's just turned up. Now, it's been passed on to us because it was issued by a bank in our manor, the Southeastern. Something wrong, Mr. Marsh?
No.
You looked for a second like you thought you'd sold a car, then the bloke changed his mind.
Oh.
Anyway, as I was saying, we've got these dud cheques that all came out of the same book. and it was issued by the Southeastern. Do you know who it was issued to?
I've no idea.
They issued it to you, Mr. Marsh. Well?
Well, what?
Well, can you tell me how those dud checks came out of a book that was issued to you?
Someone must have found one I lost.
Oh, you lost a checkbook?
Yes.
Oh, when?
Oh, about a month or so ago. I'm not sure exactly.
You didn't tell your bank you lost it, Mr. Marsh?
No.
And why not?
Well, I intended to tell them. It must have slipped my mind. I was busy.
Selling second-hand cars.
Trying to sell them.
Oh, I wish I could forget about my checkbook. But, of course, in our job, we have to pay our bills.
So do I. But I'm paid in cash. I've used that.
Mm-hmm. Have you? That fancy piece of furniture over there is a desk, isn't it, Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Would you mind opening it to see if you can find a piece of writing paper?
All right. Now, what?
Do you mind writing the name Derek Brown?
Yeah, Brown with or without an E?
Please yourself, Mr. Marsh.
All right. Yeah. Is that what you want, Sergeant?
That'll do nicely, Mr. Marsh. Brown with an E.
I imagine the type of people who are customers of shops like Wiley's and Rutland's would spell it that way.
And did you imagine they'd spell Derrick, D-E-R-R-I-C-K?
I didn't think about it.
Is that so? Of course, you'll have guessed that Derek Brown's the name the bloke used when he signed those dud checks I told you about.
Well?
Well, he spelt Derek, D-E-R-R-I-C-K.
And you think that means something?
Could. Yes, could, Mr. Marsh. You see, that isn't the only way to spell it. Sometimes it's D-E-R-E-K, and then, of course, there's one of those actor chaps that spells it D-E-R-Y-C-K. But you picked the spelling that Chummy used.
Coincidence, Sergeant?
I don't believe in them, Mr. Marsh.
They do exist.
Not in my book. You've lived here just on 4 years, haven't you?
Yes.
Before that, your address was Flat Free, Blenheim House, Princess Gardens.
It was.
When Derek Brown put his address on the back of his dud checks, that's the one he used.
You're saying that I am Derek Brown?
I'm suggesting you could be.
It's more than a suggestion, isn't it? You're convinced I passed those checks.
I have to go on evidence. Look at the evidence again. You forgot to let your bank know you'd lost your checkbook. The dud checks came out of that book. They were signed with a name you can spell 2 or 3 ways, but you used the way Chummy used, and D-A-R-R-I-C-K, Brown with an E, Mr. Marsh. He gave the address where you used to live.
Andrew, what do you think of my Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you had a visitor.
I won't be long, Joyce.
Evening, Mrs. Marsh.
Good evening.
I'm Detective Sergeant Rankin. I'm very pleased to meet you.
Detective Sergeant. Andrew, is something wrong?
No, just a slight misunderstanding. I'll explain later.
Oh. Well, I'd better do something about dinner. Excuse me, Sergeant Rankin.
Of course, Mrs. Marsh, of course. You know, Mrs. Marsh looks like she buys her clothes from smart places, like Wiley's and Rutland's. Yes, what they call the sophisticated type, isn't she?
She wouldn't like it if she heard you call her a type. My wife prefers to think of herself as an individualist.
Oh, different from my Mrs. Mr. Marsh. Oh, she's a type if ever there was one. Still come to that, we both are. She's a typical housewife, and I'm a typical copper.
You seem rather proud of the fact.
Oh, I am, Mr. Marsh, I am. You know, I'll bet my wife's cheaper to keep in clothes than yours is.
Are you sympathizing with me?
No, just thinking aloud, Mr. Marsh. You know, all that stuff that Chummy bought with those checks, that would have suited Mrs. Marsh. Oh, by the way, what do you think of the evidence I went over just now?
Very circumstantial. I don't think a jury would convict me.
They might. Still, we have to be sure.
So, I'll be able to have my dinner at home tonight?
Yes, you're lucky. I'll be having mine in the canteen. You ever had anything to eat in a police station, Mr. Marsh?
No.
Well, for your sake, I hope you never have to. Where was this taken?
What?
This photograph, you in uniform.
Korea?
National serviceman?
Yes.
Oh. Second lieutenant as well. Well, that might do you a bit of good.
In what way?
Well, a good army record always goes down well in court. You'll be at home over the weekend if I want to have another word with you?
I work all day tomorrow, but I'll be at home in the evening and on Sunday.
I hope you enjoy your dinner, Mr. Marsh.
I hope you enjoy yours, Sergeant. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Marsh.
Andrew?
What?
Do you like my hair?
Yes, very nice. Have you started on the dinner yet?
No, but it's only stewing steak. Open the tin for me, will you? It won't take long to get it ready.
I'll open the tin for you, but you'll have to eat by yourself. I've got to go out.
Don't bother with the tin, then. I'll have an egg or something. What will you do?
I'll get a sandwich at the pub. I want to see Roger.
What about?
Oh, business. I'll be back in an hour or so.
Oh, all right. Andrew?
Yes?
What did that policeman want?
He was making inquiries about a checkbook I lost.
Give my love to Roger.
All right. See you later.
All right, Mr. Sherwin?
Yes, thanks, George. She only wanted to tell me how much she adores me.
Any more calls from your girlfriend, and I'll have to charge you for using my living room.
You make far too much out of me already. Cheers.
Cheers, sir. Mr. Sherwin?
At your service, George?
Look, is there any chance of any more cigarettes? You know, like the last lot?
I'll consult my fairy godmother. If the time's right for her to wave her wand, I'll give you a ring tomorrow.
Well, leave it till the afternoon, would you? The wife will be round at her sister's and I can talk more. Oh, evening, Mr. Marsh.
Good evening. Hello, Roger.
Greetings, Andrew, old man. A pint of your best bit of a Mr. Marsh, George.
Right, on its way up from the barrel, Mr. Sherwin.
Any sandwiches left, George?
Yes, we've got ham, cheese or roast beef.
I have a couple of rounds of cheese.
Cheese, right, I'll get them right away, Mr. Marsh.
Thank you. Roger, I want to talk to you.
Permission to speak granted.
Look, you remember when Joyce was away? Oh, before I forget, she sent you a love. Are you listening?
Oh, apologies, old man. My attention was elsewhere.
Yes, I know. I saw her come in. By the way she's drooling over that chap she's with, you haven't a chance.
Just as well. She looks like the sort that's never without a blank marriage license in a handbag.
It's about time you had your name on one.
Thank you, Mother, but no thank you. I'll share anything with a lady except my name and my bank balance.
2 rounds of cheese, Mr. Marsh, and a pint of bitter. It's 5 and 7, if you please.
Oh, take it out of that, George.
All right.
Thanks, Roger.
What were you saying about when Joyce was away?
Has it changed, Mr. Sherwin?
Oh, thank you, George.
Come and sit down.
I'm perfectly happy standing up.
Well, I'll be happier when you're out of sight of that female. I want all your attention, not half of it. Roger, I am in one hell of a mess.
Tell them they'll have to wait for their pound of flesh.
No, I'm afraid the law won't wait.
Did you say the law?
Yeah. Cast your mind back to when Joyce had been away about a month.
That would be roughly about the time Mother-in-law had a third relapse.
Something like that. I came in here one night, and you introduced me to a girl.
Angela, Caroline, Fenella, Sheila, Ursula.
Sheila it was. Now, I don't know...
Hang on a minute. Let me take her out of the files. Sheila. Ah, yes. 23-ish. Hair verging on the Titian. Statistics adequate. Preferred listening to talking. Last name Ramsey, correct?
Perfect. Now, did she tell you I took her out to dinner?
Good God, no. You're joking, aren't you?
As a matter of fact, I took her out 3 or 4 times.
You, the life president of the Married Men's Union?
Yes, and I wish I'd never met the blasted girl.
Why, has Joyce found out?
There's nothing to find out. I took her out to dinner because I wanted someone to talk to.
Oh, no. You can think of a better one than that.
And it happens to be true. Now, the last time I took her out, she asked me up to her place for a drink.
And you went because all the talking you'd indulged in had made you thirsty.
Now, don't fool around, Roger. This is damn serious.
Well, tell me why.
Well, next morning, after I'd been up to her place, I missed my checkbook. Now, I knew I'd had it the night before because I'd used it to pay our bill at the restaurant. The only place I could think of where I might have lost it was Sheila's flat. Well, I phoned her, but she said she hadn't found it.
What about the
Well,
restaurant?
I phoned them as well. They hadn't found it. And, like a damned fool, I didn't tell my bank about it.
Why like a damned fool?
I have had a visit from a Detective Sergeant Rankin. My checkbook's turned up again. Someone's used it to go on a shopping expedition in the West End.
You mean your signature's been forged?
No. They signed the checks as Derek Brown. But the devil of it is they gave the address of our old flat. And that isn't all. Rankin asked me to sign the name Derek Brown, and I used exactly the same spelling that had been used on the checks.
A coincidence?
Well, Rankin doesn't think so. Roger, Sheila Ramsey must have helped herself to my checkbook. I can't see any other explanation.
And I can't see anyone, even a shop assistant, accepting her as a man. Not even in the West End.
Well, she could have passed the checkbook on to someone, couldn't she? Someone who posed as Derek Brown. Now, do you know any of her boyfriends?
Not apart from you.
Oh.
All right, I apologize. Well, actually, I know very little about her. I'd only met her in here. Why didn't you tell your policeman friend about her?
Because I don't want anyone to know about her, unless it's absolutely necessary. I mean, you didn't believe I just wanted to talk to her. Well, neither would Rankin. More important still, at the moment, Joyce had never believed that all I wanted from Sheila Ramsey was conversation.
Domestic situation still dicey, eh?
It is, and it won't improve till my bank manager starts calling me sir again. Joyce was born to eat caviar. She blames me for the fact that she's reduced a stewing steak out of a tin. Oh, I suppose she's right.
You've done everything you can to get her caviar back again.
Well, obviously Joyce wouldn't agree with you. And if she found out that I'd spent money on another woman, things would be worse between us than they are now.
Suppose this policeman chap dangles a warrant in front of you. Will you keep your mouth shut all the way to the Bastille?
Well, I blazes. If it comes to that, he'll have to know about Sheila. But in the meantime, I'm going to see if I can get her to tell me who Derek Brown is.
She wasn't very forthcoming the first time you mentioned your checkbook, was she?
No, but I didn't press the point then. There wasn't the same urgency as there is now.
Well, perhaps I can do something.
Oh, why should you?
No, I brought you and Sheila together. Apart from that, I've got contacts that a respectable citizen like you wouldn't know about. If darling Sheila's involved in skullduggery, I'll know before closing time tomorrow.
Your contacts might resent your curiosity. You'd better keep out of it.
Sorry, old man. For once, you'll have to forget your sacred independence. I'm as anxious as you are to find Derek Brown.
Well, all right. But don't get yourself into any trouble on my account.
Trouble and I have an arrangement. We keep out of each other's hair. Here, let me get you another drink.
No, thanks. I'm going. I want to call at Sheila's flat on the way home.
What now?
Well, it's only 8:30.
Leave it till the morning.
No. The sooner I know whether Sheila Ramsey is going to cooperate, the better.
There's no one of that name lives here.
You must be mistaken. I was in this flat a few weeks ago.
You weren't, you know.
And the tenant of it was definitely Sheila Ramsey.
It definitely wasn't. No one of that name's ever lived here. Before me, it was somebody called MacDonald, and they'd lived here for years. You've come to the wrong flat.
The house is only converted into two, this one and the flat downstairs. I can hardly have come to the wrong one.
Then you've come to the wrong house.
Well, this is 69, isn't it?
It is.
Sheila Ramsey lived at 69.
Then you've come to the wrong road. I've never heard of anybody called Ramsey.
Get friendly with neighbours, darling. You've only got to smile at them and they're always ringing the bell and borrowing something, aren't they?
But Sheila Ramsey only lived in the flat upstairs. If you didn't know her, you must have seen her.
Sorry, darling. I only moved in here last week.
Well, what's happened to the people who had this flat before you?
They've gone to Australia. Or is it New Zealand? Anyway, darling, they've gone.
You can't help me, then?
It depends what kind of help you want, darling. No, look, I'm really not dressed for standing in a drafty doorway, am I? Why don't you come in? We could introduce ourselves. My name's Carol, and we could talk about Sheila or something.
Some other time, thanks.
I may not be free some other time.
Well, that'll be my loss, won't it? Good night.
Good night, darling. Give my love to Sheila, if you ever find her.
Do you want any more coffee, Joyce?
Please. Was there any post for me?
No. The telephone bill's gone up again. Here's your coffee.
Thank you. Will you be using the car this morning?
No, you can have it.
Can you let me have some money for shopping, too?
Now, I'll put it on your dressing table. I'm going to shave.
Wait a minute. What did that policeman want to see you about?
Well, I told you I lost a checkbook.
And the police found it?
No. Someone's used the checks and signed them with a false name.
How does that concern you?
Well, it doesn't, but the police thought that if I could tell them where I lost it, it might give them a clue or something.
Do you know where you lost it?
No, I've no idea. 3793.
Andrew, it's Roger. Have I disturbed your slumbers?
No. What are you doing up at this time in the morning?
Well, actually, I haven't been to bed yet. Did you see your fair lady?
No. The customer doesn't live there anymore.
Customer? Message received and understood. Joyce is there, is she?
Yes. Roger, do you want anything special? I'm in a hurry.
Well, actually, old man, I think I know where your customer is.
Uh-huh. Give me the address.
I can't hear you, Andrew. There's something wrong with this line.
I said...
You're still not coming through very well. Can you meet me somewhere later?
All right. 1 o'clock in the usual place.
What time did you arrange to meet him then, Mr. Marsh?
1 o'clock. What's the time now, George?
What, is your watch stopped?
No, I came out in a hurry and forgot it.
It's just turned 20 past.
Well, if he isn't here in another 10 minutes, I'll have to go. George, do you know any of the girls that Mr. Sherwin meets in here?
Well, only as customers, more's the pity.
Now, a few weeks ago, he introduced me to one of them, a red-haired girl called Sheila Ramsey. Now, do you remember her?
Sheila? No, I don't think... No, not offhand.
Well, look, if you hear her name mentioned, let me know, will you? I want to get in touch with her.
Close touch, I'll bet, eh? By heck, I wouldn't mind her. Oh, hang on a minute, will you, Mr. Marsh? The wife's calling. Yes, what do you want then, Elsie? It's a phone call for you, Mr. Marsh.
Who is it? Roger Sherwin?
Well, I don't know. The wife didn't say. The phone's in the sitting room. It's the first on the right.
Oh, thanks. Hello?
Mr. Andrew Marsh.
Yes, who's that?
This is the West Middlesex Hospital. We phoned Elmfield Service Station and they gave us this number. We've some bad news for you about your friend, Roger Sherwin.
What's happened?
He's been in an accident, Mr. Marsh. Can you get here as quickly as possible?
Yes, of course. Is he seriously hurt?
Come to the casualty department, Mr. Marsh.
All right, but I asked you, is he seriously hurt? Hello? Is he seriously hurt?
I'm afraid he's dead, Mr. Marsh.
Dead? Good God, Doctor, how did it happen?
Perhaps we'd better go in my office. The casualty ward isn't the best place to talk. Are you a relative of, what did you say his name was?
Roger Sherwin? No. We'd been friends for a long time. As a matter of fact, I had a drink with him only last night. Was Roger driving when it happened?
I understand he was crossing the road. This car came round the corner and...
Oh, I see.
Do you know if Mr. Sherwin has any relatives living in the district?
No, he hasn't. His parents died a few years ago. He's got an aunt in Scotland. I don't know her address, though.
You're quite sure the articles I showed you belong to your friend?
Oh, yes. I gave him the wallet last Christmas. And the wristwatch was a birthday present to himself. I think a girl gave him the lighter.
You understand why I'm so insistent on this point, Mr. Marsh?
He can't be identified physically.
I'm afraid he can't. Facial injuries make it completely impossible. Yes?
Excuse me, sir. Is it all right if I have a word with this gentleman?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, it is, Constable.
Thank you. May I have your name, sir?
Andrew Marsh.
And I believe you say the deceased's name was Roger Sherwin.
Yes.
His address, sir?
Well, he lived in a houseboat. It's moored on the river at Hampton Court. I can't remember the address, but I've got it at home. I can let you have it.
How did you come to hear about the accident, sir?
Well, I had a phone call. Constable...
just a minute, sir. Who phoned you?
Well, someone from this hospital, of course.
Did they give you a name?
No.
Where were you when you got this phone call?
In the King's Head. It's a pub in...
Yeah, I know where it is. Thank you, sir. How did they know at the hospital that you'd be there?
Oh, they phoned the firm I work for and they told them.
Who do you work for, sir?
Elmfield Service Station.
I see. Well, thank you, sir. Doctor, do you mind if Mr. Marsh waits in your office till I get back?
Oh, no, that's quite all right.
Constable, why are you so interested in me?
Routine, sir. Won't keep you long.
Doctor?
Yes?
Do you know any more about the accident than the fact that Roger was crossing the road?
I can tell you that the car didn't stop.
Do the police know who was driving it?
No. Well, they have an eyewitness. I believe she was unable to describe the driver, though.
Well, I hope someone can describe him.
Yes. I'll have to leave you, Mr. Marsh. If there's anything you want, just ask one of the nurses.
No, thanks. Oh, Doctor, do you know what the time... Oh, damn.
At the third stroke, it will be 1:55 and 20 seconds. At the third stroke, it will be 1:55 and 30 seconds. At the third stroke, it will be 3:10 and 10 seconds.
I believe you want a word with me, sir.
Yes. How much longer do you expect me to stay here?
As a matter of fact, sir, I was on my way to see you when the nurse collared me. Said you were getting a bit impatient.
I've had half the staff looking for you.
I've been on the phone, sir. Anyway, these things always take time.
What things?
I'm coming to that. First of all, sir, would you like to change your previous statement?
Would you like to tell me what the blazes you're talking about?
Your statement referring to how you knew about the accident.
Well, why should I change it? It's the truth.
Is it, sir?
For heaven's sake, man, don't be so damn mysterious.
Losing our tempers isn't going to help.
We're
sir.
not losing our tempers. I am losing mine. And do you wonder? You leave me here for over an hour without any reasonable explanation while you go and amuse yourself on the telephone.
Is that all, sir?
For the moment, yes.
Right, sir. Well, get on then. I wanted you to wait because when Mr. Sherwin was brought in here, his pockets were turned out. And there wasn't a single thing, no driving licence, nothing with his name on it. It wasn't until you walked in and started asking about Roger Sherwin and identified his property that anybody knew who he was.
Of course they knew.
Impossible, sir.
But someone phoned me and told me Roger had been in an accident.
They didn't phone you, sir. They couldn't have done. Because there was nothing in his pockets that had your name on it either.
Damn it, the hospital rang my firm.
So you said. I've just been on to Elmfield service station, and they say they never had a call from the hospital.
Then how did I know there'd been an accident?
Just what I was going to ask you, sir. In the circumstances, I hope your answer this time will be nearer the truth.
Oh, now we're back to the mystery bit again. What circumstances?
Your friend's accident was no ordinary hit and run, sir. The driver could have avoided him, but he deliberately ran him down.
What?
According to our eyewitness, sir, it was nothing less than murder.
We have just started the David Ellis series, Find the Lady. In the cast, you heard Noel Johnson as Andrew Marsh and Henry Stamper as Sergeant Rankin. Joyce was played by Fenella Hasbrook, and Clive Mannering was Roger. Next time, Andrew slips deeper into a whirlpool of trouble. On the heels of losing his checkbook, he next loses his car and a friend. The executive producer of the Mystery Project is Bill Howell. Our coordinating producer is Barry Morgan. I'm Bob Boving, thanking you for listening and inviting your comments. See you next week. Last week, we began a serial mystery designed to take us through the holiday season. It's called Find the Lady. A used car salesman named Andrew Marsh is finding that circumstance and misunderstood incidents can prove to be a deadly mix. In the play by David Ellis, Andrew Marsh started out losing his checkbook. Then police investigating fraud with phony names on checks think he's lying. Andrew believes a girl named Sheila Ramsey must have stolen his checks when he was visiting her apartment, and now he can't find her. His friend Roger Sherwin, who introduced the girl, volunteers to help locate her. But before he can report on his search, he is run down and killed in a hit and run. Episode 2 of Find the Lady, in which Andrew loses a friend.
Are you going to tell me the truth this time?
I've told it to you already. Someone from this hospital phoned me at the King's Head and told me Roger Sherwin had been in an accident.
But we know that's impossible, don't we, sir? They didn't know who the deceased was until you told them.
Joyce, what the devil are you doing here?
I heard Roger had been in an accident. How is he?
I'm afraid he's dead.
Dead? Oh, no.
How did you find out that I was at the hospital?
Well, I had to see you about something, so I called in at the garage, and Mr. Rodney said you'd gone to the King's Head. I followed you there, and the landlord, what's his name?
George Phillips.
Yes. He said you'd had a phone call from the hospital about Roger, so...
Did you hear that, Constable?
Yes, I heard it, sir. I take it you know this lady.
This is my wife.
I see, sir. Oh, Mrs. Marsh, How did the landlord know Mr. Marsh had had a phone call from the hospital?
He found out from his wife. She took the call. If you'd rung the King's Head, they'd have told you so. By the way, why didn't you ring them?
Oh, well, sir,
Well, Constable?
Well, it didn't seem necessary, sir. Your firm said they didn't know anything about any call from the hospital, so...
So you took it for granted that I was lying?
Well, even if you weren't, sir, there's still a lot that needs clearing up.
I'm well aware of that. Can I go now, Constable?
Just wait while I check with the King's Head, if you don't mind, sir.
Andrew, you'd better phone Mr. Rodney. He expected you back this afternoon.
Yes, all right. Joyce, why did you go round to the garage?
Well, I had to see you about the car. I left it while I did my shopping, and when I came back, it had gone.
That's all I need. Have you told the police?
No, I thought you'd do that.
Well, perhaps our friend will take care of it. I'll have to leave you to cope with him.
Where are you going? Back to work?
No, I want to have a look round Roger's boat.
It'll be locked up.
Harry's got the key.
Harry?
The old chap from Harley's, the people who hire motor launches. He did odd jobs for Roger. I want to see if I can find something, and I've got to do it before the police trace Roger's address.
Well, that's one point cleared up, sir. Mrs. Phillips confirmed that you had a phone call, but she says the caller didn't say who was speaking.
No, he didn't. He only said it was the hospital when I took over. Is it all right if I go now?
Yes, sir. Oh, we shall want to get in touch with you again.
Well, you have my address. Look, can I ask you to do me a favour? Our car's been stolen. Would you report it for me?
Stolen, sir? When was this?
Give him the details, will you, Joyce? I'll see you at home in a couple of hours or so.
Andrew, what about my shopping? I left it all at the supermarket.
But get a taxi. Ask them downstairs. They'll call one for you.
Now then, Mrs. Marsh, about your car.
I left it in the council car park.
And what time was that?
Oh, 11:30, 11:45. I can't tell you the exact minute.
And what time was it when you found the car had been stolen?
Just after 2 o'clock.
Well, now, Mrs. Marsh, can you describe the car?
It's a Jaguar, 6 or 7 years old.
What size engine, Mrs. Marsh?
Oh, good heavens, I haven't the slightest idea.
Well, do you know if it's one of the small Jags or one of the big ones?
One of the small ones, I suppose.
And the colour?
White.
Registration number, Mrs. Marsh?
Oh, you'll have to ask my husband. All I know is it's got 2 9s in it.
2 9s. Has he by any chance got a GB plate on the back?
Yes. Why? Have you found it already?
No, Mrs. Marsh. Well, I think that's all. I'll pass these details on to the station.
Thank you.
Oh, well, there's just one other thing. Do you know where your husband went off to?
No, I don't.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Marsh. We'll be in touch with you.
I can go now.
Yes.
CRD, Detective Sergeant Rankin.
Oh, Sarge, this is Ted Russell, 127. You're making inquiries about this bloke, Andrew Marsh, aren't you?
Yes, what of it?
According to his missus, their car was nicked this morning. It's a small white Jag with a GB plate on the back.
Get to the point, Russell.
Oh, OK, Sarge. You know this hit-and-run job? Mm-hmm. Well, we got a description of the car from an eyewitness. She could have been describing Marsh's car.
Mind yourself on the gangplank, Mr. Marsh. It's a bit slippery.
I'll watch it, Harry.
Here we are, then.
Thanks, Harry. Shall I take the key?
Well, there's nothing doing this afternoon. I'll give you a hand if you like. You'll be packing his gear, I suppose.
Not now. Listen, I'm in a spot of trouble. Mr. Sherwin was trying to help me. That could have been why he was knocked down this morning, to stop him interfering.
Truth.
He started to tell me something on the phone, a girl's address.
Well, if that's all you want, he had plenty of them.
Now, this is a particular girl. I believe he found out where she's living now, and I'm hoping he made a note of it.
Looks like he left in a hurry this morning.
Oh?
Yeah, bed isn't even made. He was fussy about things like that.
Didn't he have anyone to clean the boat?
Nah, he always said he liked doing it himself. And he had the time. He didn't work regular hours, did he? What sort of line was he in, Mr. Marsh?
I've no idea.
What you got there, Mr. Marsh?
Checkbooks, Harry. Excuse me, will you?
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. I only want to get at that notepad.
Found something, have you?
I'm afraid I have.
Is that the address you wanted?
No. It's something that might be just as useful, though.
Busy, Mr. Marsh?
What? Oh, good afternoon, Sergeant Rankin. Mind your head, the doorway's on the low side. Harry, there's no need for you to stay. I'll lock up and let you have the key.
Okay. I'll see you later then, Mr. Marsh.
Yes, and thanks for your help.
You know, I had an idea I might find you here. What are you doing on this houseboat?
I was just going to ask you the same question.
I'm not obliged to answer.
All right. You know Roger Sherwin was killed this morning?
Yes?
Well, he was a friend of mine. I'm taking care of the arrangements.
The funeral, you mean?
Yes.
You must have left the hospital and come straight here. You are in a hurry, aren't you?
Well, I thought I ought to start clearing up his effects and so on. And there are probably people who have to be notified.
Relatives?
Well, as far as I know, he's only got an aunt, but there might be someone else. Friends, business acquaintances.
Yeah.
The logical place to find out seemed to be among his papers.
And what have you found so far?
A few bills, letters, mostly from girlfriends.
I'll have a look, if you don't mind, Mr. Marsh. And what's under these papers? Checkbooks, eh? 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. All on different banks, too. You weren't trying to hide these, were you, Mr. Marsh?
No, I'd only found them just before you arrived.
I had you now. Then you won't have had time to see this. One of these books has got the sort of checks that have the depositor's name printed on them. And the name on these is Sheldon Everard. Now, what was your friend, Mr. Sherwin, doing with a checkbook that belongs to a Mr. Sheldon Everard?
I've no idea.
Pity it's a Saturday afternoon, Mr. Marsh. We'll have to wait till Monday to get an answer to that one. I'll tell you what I think it'll be, though. These banks never heard of Mr. Sherwin. And if I'm right, then it's going to look like your friend's mixed up in this dud check racket.
If you're right.
I'll bet my pension on it. Now, why did you say you tried to hide those checkbooks?
What I said was I didn't try to hide them. I'd only just found them.
Well, let's suppose it wasn't the truth. Why would you have shoved those checkbooks under that pile of papers? Any suggestions, Mr. Marsh?
No.
Oh, well, I've got a couple. One, you'd guessed your friend was mixed up in something crooked, and you wanted to protect his good name. Don't speak ill of the dead, that sort of thing. How does that sound to you?
Makes me a very noble character, doesn't it?
Just what I thought. Let's get on to suggestion number 2. You hid those checks because you were both mixed up in something crooked, and you wanted to protect your good name. Don't speak ill of the living. That sort of thing. How does that sound to you, Mr. Marsh?
Like something out of Detective Sergeant Rankin in Wonderland.
Smart comebacks won't do you any good, Mr. Marsh.
Will anything do me any good where you're concerned, Sergeant?
The truth might.
But you don't believe it when I tell it to you.
Because you never give me any evidence to back it up. Let's go back for a minute to Mr. Sherwin's accident. How did you find out about it?
The hospital phoned me at the King's Head.
Someone phoned you at the King's Head. We've only your word for it that it was the hospital.
What other way could I have found out?
Well, I'll tell you. Your car was reported stolen this morning. Your wife described it as a small white Jag, 6 or 7 years old, 2 9s in the registration, GB plate on the back, correct?
Yes.
The witness to the accident described the car that mowed down Mr. Sherwin as a white Jaguar. She didn't know what year it was, but it had one of those plates on the back with the letters GB. If you'd been driving your car, Mr. Marsh, that's one other way you could have found out that your friend had been knocked down.
So now you're accusing me of stealing my own car and killing Roger Sherwin?
I'm suggesting it's a possibility. And by what our eyewitness says, murdering him would be a better way of putting it.
Most murders aren't committed without a motive.
I think I know what yours was. Now, yesterday you told me that before you say wrap it up, I'll take it, you have to know the price of what you're buying. Yet 3 years ago, you could afford to go shopping in Cairo. You were a sales representative, earning in damn good money. You travelled all over this country, staying in swank hotels, and you put the bill on your expense account. But last Christmas, your firm was taken over. You and 3 or 4 others were shown the door. They gave you a chromium-plated handshake, but after the sort of jobs you've had lately, I'll bet there isn't much of that left. I'd win my bet, wouldn't I, Mr. Marsh?
You don't have to ask me, do you? I'm sure a typical policeman only bets on certainties.
You'd be right. On the wages you're bringing home now, it must be hard work keeping your wife in the style she's been accustomed to.
She's had to change her style. We both have.
When I met her yesterday, Mr. Marsh, she didn't strike me as the sort of woman who's hard up for a few bob.
Oh, don't be misled by appearances. The clothes she's wearing now were bought a long time ago. You're not concentrating on the road.
Well, we were talking about Mrs. Marsh, weren't we? Supposing she's been making life a bit difficult for you because she had to walk past shops instead of going in them. You talked it over with your friend Roger Sherwin, and one of you came up with the idea of using dud checks to buy the things that would make Mrs. Marsh easy to live with again. And it turned out to be so easy, you thought, why not branch out? Now, so far, Mr. Sherwin wouldn't have been getting anything out of it. But if you'd bought stuff and flogged it in the right quarters, there'd have been cash to split between you. No comment, Mr. Marsh?
Not at the moment. I thought we were going to my flat.
Later. Get out, Mr. Marsh. You know where we are?
Where Roger was knocked down.
Where he was murdered. You were here this morning, weren't you?
No.
I believe you were. Now, when you came round that corner and drove straight at him, what was your motive? Well, I'll give you two. Either you'd quarrelled over the profits of the dud check racket, and you were going to settle the argument in your favour, or your partner knew we suspected you, and to save his own neck, he decided to talk. So you were going to shut his mouth permanently. Which was it, Mr. Marsh?
Neither. You're breaking quite a lot of rules today, aren't you? You've parked on double yellow lines.
Get back in the car, Mr. Marsh.
Oh, don't look so bad-tempered. Just because your plan to frighten me didn't work.
I wasn't trying to frighten you.
Then why the off-the-record chat? Why show me where Roger was killed?
I'm trying to convince you that the sensible thing for you to do is to make a statement.
To save you having to go to the trouble of finding more evidence against me?
I have enough evidence already.
If you had to be locked up, not joyriding with you. Oh, I know you've no doubts that I'm guilty. But you have to make absolutely certain that a jury would agree with you. At the moment, I don't think they would.
Don't be too sure.
There's only one thing I can be sure of. The truth doesn't always come out, does it?
Andrew, he's phoned you twice since I came home. I promised you'd ring him as soon as you could.
I'll call him later.
Don't keep him waiting on my account, Mr. Marsh. We don't want you to lose another job, do we?
Please, Andrew, go and speak to him now.
2 against 1, Mr. Marsh. Majority verdict.
Oh, all right. I'll only be a couple of minutes.
Did your husband tell you what I was doing here yesterday, Mrs. Marsh?
He said it was something to do with the checkbook he'd lost.
Is that all?
I think so. No, wait a minute. He said someone had used the checks and signed them with a false name.
That's what he told you, is it?
Is there any more?
Did I say there was?
No, but there was something in your voice.
I better watch it then, Mrs. Marsh. Giving things away like that. I don't want to cause trouble between you and your husband.
Trouble, Sergeant? I don't understand.
Oh, forget it, Mrs. Marsh. It isn't worth bothering about. Tell me, is Mr. Marsh a generous husband?
He used to be.
Has he bought you any presents lately?
He sent me some flowers on my birthday.
That's all?
Yes, why do you ask?
Oh, just curious. When you got this job, I thought he might have bought you a new fur coat or something.
Obviously, you don't know how much a second-hand car salesman earns.
Made your peace with the boss, Mr. Marsh?
Yes?
Well, I'll be on my way then.
Oh, I thought we were going to continue our unofficial chat.
I have decided to postpone it for the time being. I'll find my own way out. Good afternoon, Mrs. Marsh.
Good afternoon, Sergeant.
What did he ask you, Joyce?
Never mind that for a moment. Andrew, did you tell me the truth about why he came to see you yesterday?
Yes.
Sergeant Rankin dropped a very clumsy hint, implying you hadn't been completely honest with me.
Did he? I thought he had another reason for wanting me to phone Bill Rodney. He doesn't give a damn whether I lose my job or not. He just wanted to get me out of the way. Oh, all right. I'll tell you the rest of it. I was going to, anyway.
Good.
While you were looking after your mother, I dropped in the King's Head one night. You'd been away 3 or 4 weeks. You can't talk to a television screen, not if you want an intelligent conversation. So the pub seemed like a good idea. Roger was there, in the middle of the usual crowd of females. He introduced me to a girl called Sheila Ramsey.
Surely there were other people you could have talked to. It didn't have to be some girl you picked up in a pub.
I couldn't think of anyone. Being away so much, I'd lost touch with my own friends.
It was always Roger.
Oh, he had heard my troubles so often, he must have been sick of listening to them.
So you chose a complete stranger?
I thought it was the best solution at the time. I'd found out that I'd never make a fortune selling second-hand cars. I'm not much good at the glib line of patter that's required. I'd spent hours in the flat on my own, wondering what the hell to try next, and I hadn't got anywhere. I thought a stranger might be able to suggest something.
I can think of a lot of things an attractive girl might suggest to you. But how to make your fortune wouldn't be one.
It's easy to sit there and be bitchy, Joyce.
Well, how do you expect me to behave? Oh, it's not so much the girl, Andrew, but the fact that you preferred to cry on her shoulder rather than mine.
Yes, well, we've got out of the habit of comforting each other, haven't we? Anyway, you weren't there.
There's a very good train service to Brighton.
Oh, Joyce, try to understand. I didn't go to the pub with the deliberate intention of picking up the first available female. I went because... well, I was feeling sorry for myself, I suppose. I thought a couple of drinks might make me feel less suicidal. Then Roger introduced me to Sheila. She encouraged me to talk about myself, and that's how it all started.
Couldn't you have told her all about yourself on one occasion? Did you have to see her again?
No, but as you said, she was attractive, and I didn't think I was doing any harm.
Not even when you were spending our money on her?
Well, I know. That's something I can't justify. I can only say I'm sorry. But it must be obvious, even to you, that she deliberately set out to make me want to spend more time with her. She wanted to get her hands on my checkbook.
How did she get her hands on it?
Well, she must have taken it out of my overcoat pocket.
When you took her out for a meal?
No.
When, then?
The last time I took her home, I went up to her flat.
At her suggestion, of course.
Yes. Anyway, I was only there an hour.
Oh, really?
Oh, for God's sake, Joyce, don't you do a Sergeant Rankin on me. Can't you see the object of the exercise was my checkbook?
Then why haven't you told Rankin about her?
What could I tell him? Sergeant, I'm positive my checkbook was stolen by a girl called Sheila Ramsey. Her address is flat 269 Belvedere Road, but there's a man living there now who says she never lived there. That'd be a great help, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't see what else you can do except tell the police. They might be able to trace her.
First of all, Rankin would have to believe that she exists. Unfortunately, Roger's the one person who could vouch for the fact that I didn't imagine her. I've a feeling he could have told me quite a lot about Sheila Ramsey.
But you said that when you asked him last night...
I know. He told me he'd only met her a couple of times in the pub. Well, I don't believe that now. I think he was mixed up with her in this dud check racket.
Oh, really, Andrew?
Listen, I went over to his houseboat to see if he'd left a note of Sheila's new address. Instead, in his desk, I found 4 checkbooks that didn't belong to him.
Hmm?
I think when he introduced me to this damn girl, he'd no idea I'd get, well, friendly with her. When I told him last night about the mess I was in, he realized he was responsible and decided he had to do something to help me. His partners found out he was going to talk, and they ran him down.
Why go to all the trouble of stealing your car?
Because someone seems to have embarked on an operation to frame me. And if the police can be made to suspect me of murder as well as passing dud checks, so much the better.
I'm sorry, Andrew. I simply can't believe that Roger was implicated in something criminal.
Can't you?
No.
Look, Joyce, we know he didn't earn his living legitimately. His money came from the sort of transactions that, well, it isn't polite to ask too many questions about. They were probably just inside the law, but it only requires a push, and you're outside it.
Well, there could be another explanation for the checkbooks in his desk.
What?
Well, I don't know. You're the one who's playing detective. You think of one.
I wish I could. Rankin saw those checkbooks, and he believes I was Roger's partner. The only thing that will change his mind is irrefutable evidence to the contrary. And he won't look for it, so I've got to. I've no choice.
How do you propose to start?
Well, in 3 of the checkbooks, there were counterfoils made out to the Excelsior Club.
What on earth is that?
I don't know, but one counterfoil was marked subscription. Perhaps all of the men who owned those checkbooks in Roger's desk were members. I can't be certain. But a connection with the Excelsior Club was common to all 3 of them. So, I'll start from there.
You're going to do Sergeant Rankin's job for him.
As he sees his job at the moment, it's proving that I'm guilty. Doesn't even enter his mind that I could have been framed. Well, I have to prove he's wrong.
Will it mean taking more time off from the garage?
Possibly. I don't know yet. If it does, I'll have to explain to Bill Rodney and hope he'll understand.
What if he doesn't?
Oh, well, I expect the Labour Exchange will be glad to see an old customer back again.
Oh, it isn't funny, Andrew.
If I don't make Rankin change his mind about me, the consequence of that won't be funny either. What did he ask you?
Who?
Oh, Rankin, of course, while I was on the phone.
Oh, you wanted to know if I'd had any presents from you lately.
Ah, no wonder he went away looking so disappointed. He hoped you'd tell him I'd bought you a diamond bracelet and a couple of mink coats. Have you any money I can borrow?
A little. How much do you want?
Enough to buy myself a present.
I don't understand.
Look, one of the checkbooks in Roger's desk belonged to a man called Sheldon Everard. Now, he'd made out a counterfoil to a shop in Regent Street. I intend to go in there, spend some money, and then find out if they know Everard's address. He might be able to give me some information on this Excelsior Club.
I'd rather you didn't play detective, Andrew.
Well, what do you want me to do then? Wait for Rankin to arrest me? And don't forget Roger. I believe he was killed because he was going to help me. It'll take more than an expensive wreath to get that off my conscience.
What if someone tries to kill you?
Well, other people have tried. They didn't succeed, did they?
No. But this time you won't get a medal for proving you're a better man than the enemy.
All I want is to get Rankin off my back. Get me the money, will you?
All right. But you can't spend it today, you know. Most Regent Street shops are closed on Saturday afternoons.
Oh, damn, I'd forgotten. Well, I'll go first thing on Monday morning.
With or without Mr. Rodney's permission?
Either way, getting Everard's address is more important at the moment than keeping in with Bill Rodney.
We've put up with that drill for some time now, sir.
Your staff must find it annoying.
We're more concerned with the annoyance to our clients, sir. That'll be 4 guineas, please.
Yes. Who do I make out the cheque to?
I'll give you one of our billheads, sir. There you are.
Thank you.
You have some identification?
Oh, will my driving license be enough?
It'll do splendidly, sir. One has to be so careful, I'm afraid.
Yes, of course. Here's my license.
Thank you, sir. If you wouldn't mind putting your address on the back of the cheque as well.
Certainly. By the way, do you know if Mr. Everard has been in recently?
Mr. Everard, sir?
Sheldon Everard. He's a customer of yours, isn't he?
His name does sound familiar.
Well, as a matter of fact, he recommended your shop.
Oh.
He said your shirt selection was the best in the West End.
I trust we haven't disappointed you, sir.
On the contrary. I don't suppose you happen to have Mr. Everard's address.
His address, sir?
Yes, I seem to have mislaid it, and I want to get in touch with him.
It's against our rules to supply clients' addresses, sir.
Yes, well, would this cover the penalty for breaking the rule?
I imagine it would, sir. Actually, I believe I saw Mr. Everard's name in our special order book. If you will give me a moment to find the page. Unless my memory is at fault, Mr. Everard lives somewhere in Guildford. Are you familiar with that part of Surrey, sir?
Oh, good evening. This is number 29, isn't it?
Yes.
Mr. Sheldon Everard's house?
Yes.
Would you tell Mr. Everard I'd like to see him? My name's Marsh, Andrew Marsh.
Are you a friend of Mr. Everard's?
No, we've never met.
Why do you want to see him?
It's a personal matter.
I'm sorry, Mr. Marsh, but Mr. Everard isn't in.
Would you say I'd like to talk to him about his checkbook? If you tell him that, I'm sure he'll see me.
Please come in, Mr. Marsh.
Thank you.
Would you wait in here? I won't keep you a moment. You'll find drinks on the sideboard. Please, help yourself.
Oh, thanks.
Mr. Marsh?
Yes?
Why do you want to talk to Mr. Everard about his checkbook?
Well, I'd rather discuss it with him.
I want you to discuss it with me.
And if I refuse?
I shall have to try and persuade you to change your mind.
I dare say you could as well, if I was in the mood. Unfortunately... Oh, I see. We're talking about different kinds of persuasion. You're an unusual person, aren't you? One moment you're offering me hospitality. The next you're threatening me with a gun.
I'll tell you something else about myself, Mr. Marsh. I'm going to enjoy pulling this trigger.
This has been Chapter 2 of Find the Lady by David Ellis. Noel Johnson was heard as Andrew Marsh, with Henry Stamper as Sergeant Rankin. Next time, Andrew Marsh finds his whirlpool of trouble is spinning faster and faster, and that his search to find the lady is only one of his problems. I'm Bob Boving, thanking you for listening and inviting your comments. Our coordinating producer is Barry Morgan. The executive producer of the Mystery Project is Bill Howell. See you next week. Project. Tonight, we're at Chapter 3 of Find the Lady by David Ellis. In trying to extricate himself from a web of circumstantial evidence surrounding a phony check racket and a murder, Andrew Marsh is prepared to try anything, even to tracking down a man he doesn't know, but who, like himself, lost a checkbook. His search is successful up to a point. But when he goes to Sheldon Everhart's home, he is invited in, only to end up facing a very determined young woman who pushes a large handgun in his face. Find the Lady, Chapter 3.
Suppose I tell you why I'm interested in Mr. Everard's checkbook. Will you still pull that trigger?
I may not. It depends what you have to say.
Before I tell you, will you do something for me?
You're not in a position to ask favors.
It's hardly a favor. I'd just like you to introduce yourself.
I'm Sheldon Everard's daughter.
How do you do?
I think we can dispense with the courtesies.
Could we dispense with that gun as well?
No, we could not.
It'll make your arm ache, you know, holding it up like that. If we sat down, you could use the chair arm as a rest.
Considering who you are, Mr. Marsh, you're very thoughtful.
You don't know who I am, Miss Everard. All you know about me is that I arrived by taxi and I asked to speak to your father about his checkbook.
I can guess who sent you.
No one sent me. Are you going to adopt my suggestion and sit down?
Stop wasting time and tell me why you came here.
Oh, very well. Some dud checks have been passed in the West End, and they came out of a book that was issued to me. On top of that, a friend of mine died after a hit-and-run accident last Saturday. Actually, the police think Roger, my friend that is, was deliberately run down. In his desk, there were 4 checkbooks that didn't belong to him. Now, the police believe Roger and I were in the dud check racket together, and I drove the car that killed him. Your arm's starting to ache, isn't it?
Never mind about my arm. Tell me the rest of your story.
Well, I think a girl called Sheila Ramsey stole my checkbook. I also think that Roger, and several others as well, are involved in this dud check racket. I can't put the police onto Sheila because she's disappeared. That's why I'm here. I was hoping your father would be able to help me.
You say you've never even met him. How did you find out where he lived?
One of the checkbooks in Roger's desk was his. I traced him through one of the counterfoils. It was made out to a shop in Regent's... Damn!
What's the matter?
It cost me a 4-guinea shirt to get your address, and I've left it in the taxi.
In any event, you wasted your money. My father's dead. He committed suicide.
I'm sorry. May I ask you a question about him?
What is it?
Was his death connected in any way with the reason why I came to see him?
Yes. Your friend's partners are versatile men, Mr. Marsh. They don't limit their activities to passing dud checks and staging hit-and-run accidents.
You don't think that I'm one of them, though?
No, I don't. I owe you an apology.
Why?
For frightening you with this gun.
You're not really a very good shot, are you?
How did you guess?
Someone who was used to a gun would have remembered to take off the safety catch.
The what?
There, by your finger.
Oh, I wouldn't even know how a safety catch works.
Well, I'll show you before I go, in case you get a visit from someone who is a partner of Roger's.
Thank you. Can I get you that other drink now?
Oh, I'll help myself. May I?
Please.
Do you mind talking about your father?
No.
Did the police come to see him about dud checks?
Yes, but that was only part of it. Before he died, he wrote me a letter telling me everything that had happened. It all started from the day he joined the Excelsior Club. Have you heard of it, Mr. Marsh?
I've seen the name, that's all. It was on the counterfoils of 3 of the checkbooks in Roger's desk. What kind of a place is it?
A gambling club with a membership confined to men with a certain type of background.
Like your father?
Yes, he was custom-made for them. He had a taste for gambling, wasn't averse to women. Just the opposite, in fact. And he possessed information that was worth a lot of money. Well, one night he lost rather more than he could afford. The Excelsior Club employs hostesses with a talent for comforting men who are sorry for themselves. One of them took my father back to her flat when the club closed.
Do you know her name?
No, I don't.
I thought it might have been Sheila Ramsey. Please, go on, Miss Everard.
Well, a week after my father went home with this girl, an envelope came through the post. There were some photographs in it. They'd been taken in her flat. I've no need to tell you the
No.
sort of...
How much did they ask for the negatives?
Their price was information.
About what?
My father worked in the Foreign Office. They wanted particulars of confidential documents.
Oh.
Military secrets that would fetch a very high price outside this country.
The Excelsior Club deals in espionage, then?
No, I don't think so. My father said in his letter that only 1 or 2 members of the club were civil servants. Most of them were businessmen.
Industrial information's worth a lot of money these days.
I think that's what the club's interested in. Money. And they're not particular how they get it.
In your father's case, they threatened to ruin him with these photographs?
That's right.
Mm.
They phoned him and said they'd send them to the newspapers with faked evidence that he was already a traitor.
Well, why didn't he just resign?
It wouldn't have been any use. They said only one thing could stop them using the photographs. The information they wanted.
So he gave in?
Do you blame him?
No. If I'd been in his position with those photographs in front of me and that voice on the phone...
The voice didn't give him time to consider the whys and wherefores. It demanded the first payment within 24 hours. Well, to begin with, the information they wanted was relatively unimportant.
Oh, yes.
But after that, with each phone call, their demands became more and more exorbitant. By then, my father was committed. It was too late for him to draw back.
Poor devil.
But eventually they drove him to the point where he was prepared to refuse them and face the consequences. Then the police came to see him. They wanted to know if he'd lost a checkbook.
And he had?
Yes. Yes, he'd missed it after the night he spent in that girl's flat.
He hadn't told his bank that he'd lost it either.
No. The police told him his checks had been used in shops in the West End. They'd been signed with a false name.
Do you know if that name was Derek Brown?
I've no idea what the name was.
Ah.
Well, Father realized that if the police caught the man who'd used his checks, they might uncover the other activities of the Excelsior Club as well. He found he wasn't prepared to face the consequences after all, so he used this gun.
Have you told anyone else about the letter your father left for you?
No, you're the first to hear of it. Father's doctor gave evidence at the inquest. He said Mother's death must have preyed on his mind. She died in a car crash a year ago. Father was driving.
Have the police been back again about his checkbook?
No.
Well, who did you think I was? Someone from the Excelsior Club?
Yes.
Ah. Do you, live here alone, Miss Everard?
Why?
Well, it's possible that you might have a visitor from the Excelsior Club.
Oh, well, I'm on my own at night. I've a woman comes in during the day to help me with the housework. She left just before you came.
I must remember to initiate you into the mysteries of that safety catch. Did you keep your father's letter, Miss Everard?
No, I burnt it a few days ago. But I think I've told you everything that was in it.
Only your father had given you the name of that hostess. I suppose he didn't even tell you the address of her flat?
No.
Ah.
Oh, dear. You haven't learned very much for your 4 guineas, have you?
Well, at least I know that everything stems from the Excelsior Club. And finding out where that is shouldn't be too difficult.
Well, I can tell you that.
Oh?
I found Father's membership card the other day. As a matter of fact, I walked past the club last Friday. It's just round the corner from where I was working.
I can't imagine you in an office.
How about a photographer's studio?
Oh, yes, you'd fit there. You're a model, I suppose.
Yes. That membership card should be in this drawer.
What does the club look like from the outside?
Oh, not very imposing. Just a doorway in a street in Soho.
Well, if you're round there again, don't let anyone see you taking an interest in that doorway.
I won't. Here's the membership card, Mr. Marsh.
Ah, thank you. May I borrow this?
Yes. Yes, I can't see that it'll be any use, though.
It's still valid. It would get me into the club.
They'd realize you weren't Sheldon Everard.
That would be the idea.
Knowing the kind of people they are, I doubt whether they'd let you get out of that club alive.
If it comes to spending the next few years in jail or risking my neck in the Excelsior Club, well, I hope you'll forgive me for using your father's name.
Of course. And I wish you luck, Mr. Marsh.
Thank you. And now I must go. I promised to take my wife out to dinner.
How old is Margaret Everard?
Oh, 23, 4.
Attractive?
Well, yes, I suppose so.
I thought she might be.
Why?
You're going to take on the Excelsior Club single-handed for her sake, aren't you?
All I'm going to do is try to find Sheila Ramsey for my own sake and no one else's.
You'll use that membership card eventually, though, won't you?
Only if Rankin forces me to.
How do you know that the club's connected with what's happened to you and to Sheldon Everard?
I don't know, but it seems logical to suppose that it is. I believe it's a cover for organized blackmail with the dud checks as a sideline, and murder when necessary.
I see. And knowing all that, you still think that without any help from anyone, you can bring the existence of the club to an end?
No.
Then what's the point of your one-man crusade?
The police won't act without evidence. I'm hoping I'll find some.
Why don't you go to the police now?
Because I've no proof. Sheila Ramsay's disappeared. Margaret Everard destroyed her father's letter. Rankin would think it was a fantastic tale I'd invented to get myself off the hook.
Lack of proof isn't the only reason why you won't go to Rankin, is it?
Well, I don't know of any other.
I do. If you can terminate the career of the Excelsior Club, you might stop the police finding out that Everard was a traitor, thereby earning his daughter's gratitude. By the way, just what form are you hoping her gratitude would take?
Would you care?
I'm still your wife.
Then for God's sake, act like it and stop this eternal bitching. Come on, let's get out of here. Hamilton Road, please.
Hamilton Road, right.
Andrew?
Yes?
I'm sorry for the things I said just now. But you've asked me to try and understand your point of view. I want you to try and understand mine. You see, to me it looks as though you're prepared to risk everything. Your job, maybe even your life.
You're exaggerating.
Oh, please, let me finish. And all this is to help a girl you met for the first time today.
Oh, I'm not that unselfish. I'm trying to help myself. If she benefits as well, it'll be incidental.
Well, I agree with one thing you've said. You aren't unselfish, are you? My wishes don't concern you at the moment, do they?
Of course they do. Joyce, listen. Suppose I give up and concentrate on selling second-hand cars. What happens to you when Rankin knocks on the door and arrests me for passing dud checks, murdering Roger, and anything else he can think of?
Now, you're exaggerating.
I don't think I am. If there was some kind of financial reward for what I was doing, you wouldn't be so anxious to discourage me, would you?
Now, that isn't fair. I'm discouraging you because I know that if you forget Sergeant Rankin and Margaret Everard and the Excelsior Club, you can be a success again.
You want the things that come with success.
Well, is that my fault? When we had money, you told me it was there to be spent. You got me into the habit of buying whatever I wanted. That's one habit women don't find it easy to break, and I'm no exception.
Yeah, even Rankin would believe that.
Huh. Talk about people being bitchy.
I'm sorry. Do you mind if I ask him to drop you on the corner?
Why? Where are you going?
Round to Sheila Ramsay's flat. I've been thinking about her. I don't believe she left there of her own accord.
Why not?
She was the one person who knew how I lost my checkbook. Therefore, she had to be got out of the way.
You mean they murdered her as well?
Not necessarily. Probably they've just hidden her away somewhere. But I know damn well she lived in that flat a few weeks ago, and the man who's there now could have been lying when he said he'd never heard of her. Well, this time he's not going to get away with slamming the door in my face. Stop on the next corner, please.
Okay, go.
You're persisting with your one-man crusade, in spite of what I've said.
For the moment.
I see. Well, you're not the only one who can be selfish, you know.
What does that mean?
It means that I'm not going to wait forever for you to come to your senses.
Good evening. Remember me?
No, I don't think... Wait a minute. You're the chap that was here last week, asking for some girl or other.
Sheila Ramsay. Have you remembered anything about her yet?
I told you you've got the wrong address. Now, if you don't mind, I'm busy.
I'll only keep you a minute.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
I'm coming into your flat.
Oh, no, you're not. Come on, out of it.
You'll have to put me out. Well?
I'm not in the mood for a roughhouse.
That's just as well, because I am. My name's Marsh, Andrew Marsh.
Damn you and your name. Where do you think you're going now?
In here. This is the lounge, isn't it? Oh, I beg your pardon. I didn't know you had company. Good evening.
Hello, darling.
You live downstairs, don't you?
You mind your own damn business.
I met this young lady after I'd called on you last time.
She doesn't know you're Sheila Ramsay either.
So she told me. I suppose you've never heard of the Excelsior Club.
The what?
He said the Excelsior Club, darling.
Did he? I don't go for clubs.
You prefer to have your fun in private, don't you, darling?
Shut up, Carol. Now look, are you going to get out, or do I have to call the police?
Darling, the poor man's only trying to find his girlfriend.
She isn't my girlfriend. I met her in a pub and took her out because I wanted somebody to talk to.
Oh, now that's not very original, darling, is it?
It's the truth. And because of it, I'm up to my neck in trouble. The only one I know who could get me out of it is Sheila. Now, if you've got her address or you know how I could get in touch with her, I would be very grateful if you'd tell me.
You took her out? When, lately?
Yes.
What colour's her hair?
Eh?
Is she blonde, brunette?
Oh, she's a redhead.
Titian, darling.
Oh, you must have seen her lately, then. She only had it dyed after...
After what?
I think he's on the level. Do you, Carol?
I'm sure he is, Peter, darling.
Oh, your name's Peter, is it?
Peter Lloyd. All right, then. I know Sheila Ramsey.
It's taken you long enough to admit it.
Sheila asked me to say I'd never heard of her.
Why?
She's married. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
She left her husband a few months ago. He knocked her around. Led her a hell of a life. Ever since, she's been trying to keep out of his way. After she left him, she even dyed her hair. She thought if she changed her appearance, it might help. Anyway, it didn't. He found out where she was living, and someone told Sheila. So she gave up this flat, and if he came here looking for her, she asked me to tell him the tale I told you.
And you thought I was her husband?
Only natural, isn't it?
Have you any idea where Sheila's living now?
No.
Didn't she give you a forwarding address for mail?
She said it'd be better if she just went without telling me anything.
Yeah. You don't know any of her friends, I suppose?
I don't even know if she's got any. I only met her the once, the day I moved in here. I asked her about sending on letters and things, and that's when she told me about her husband.
I see. Well, I'll just have to think of something else.
I'm sorry we can't do anything for you.
Well, actually, you could do something. You know there is such a person as Sheila Ramsey. Now, you wouldn't mind telling the police you'd met her, would you?
I don't want to get involved in anything.
I won't bring you into it unless it's absolutely necessary.
Well, all right, then. But if you're going to tell the police I met her, let me know first, will you?
I will. Let's hope it won't come to that. Well, I'll be on my way. Good night, Carol.
Night, darling. Good luck.
Thanks. Good night, Mr. Lloyd.
You know the way out, don't you?
Yes.
What the hell did you go into that darling act for?
He was bound to wonder what I was doing up here, wasn't he?
Oh. You could have said you were borrowing something.
You mean like a book? Would you lend me the one with a fairy story in about dear little Sheila?
Damn.
Have you found her yet?
Mind your own damn business.
I'd rather mind yours. There's more money in it.
You get your share. Look, I'm going out. I've written a phone number down on the pad. Keep trying it.
Who is it?
Never mind. When they answer, tell them you're speaking for me. The message is, Marsh is being a nuisance. He's got to be stopped. You got that?
Marsh is being a nuisance. He's got to be stopped. What's it mean?
Just see you pass on that message. Then get the hell out of my flat. Darling.
Marsh, I want you a minute. Come in the office.
Right, Mr. Rodney.
The police phoned while you were out. They found your car.
Where?
Well, I didn't ask. They want to see you at the station.
I'll go this evening. Thanks. Oh, by the way, I see your car's due for relicensing.
Oh, is it? Thanks for the reminder. Listen, Marsh. How are you fixed with the law over this cheque business?
I don't know. I haven't heard from Sergeant Rankin for a few days. I imagine the situation hasn't changed.
And you're still hell-bent on doing the copper's job for them?
No. My wife thinks I ought to leave it to the police. I've promised her I will.
Well, generally I'm not in favour of promising wives anything. But in this case, I think you've done the right thing. Now, between you and me, I'm buying Frank Stewart's garage in about 3 months from now. You've got a lot to learn, Marsh. For one thing, you're too soft with the customers, but I'll knock that out of you. Keep your mind on my business, and I remember you when I'm deciding who's going to be manager at Stewart's.
Thank you, Mr. Rodney.
You've got the appearance of a manager, and besides that, you've got something that's worth a lot in this trade. You look like an honest man.
Oh, I wish the police had the same opinion.
Forget 'em. You haven't done anything serious, like parking in a restricted area, so sooner or later they'll forget you. All right, get back outside.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Rodney.
Hello there.
Hello, Carol. I'm afraid I don't know your other name.
It's Ransom, but I won't hold you to it.
You went... Oh, I see. What are you doing here?
I've been looking at that cute little sports car over there.
You thinking of buying a car?
If I survive my test next week, I'm doing everything I can to make sure I pass.
Are you really interested in that sports car?
Of course I am.
Or shall I give you the technical details?
Will it go, darling? That's all I want to know.
It'll go, to the extent of 120 miles an hour.
It'd be dangerous for me to drive it, wouldn't it?
Probably.
Almost as dangerous as it would be for you if you go on looking for Sheila Ramsey.
You're not just guessing, are you, Carol?
Aren't I?
I don't think so. I've been wondering why you picked this particular garage to look for a car. It wasn't a coincidence, was it? You knew I worked here.
You wouldn't like to take me out in that car, would you?
How did you know I worked here?
Darling, you do ask a lot of questions.
Where do you work, Carol? At the Excelsior Club.
Darling, if I were you, I'd forget I ever heard of that place.
Sheila Ramsey worked there, didn't she?
Darling, I'd love to buy this cute little car, but I'd be scared stiff of driving it. I mean, breaking the speed limit's one thing, but killing someone's another, isn't it?
Marsh?
Yes, Mr. Rodney?
A phone call for you. I think it's your wife.
Oh, right. Thanks. Carol, wait here, will you? I'll be as quick as I can.
Don't upset wifey, darling. Can I sit in the car?
Help yourself. Hello?
Andrew?
Yes, what do you want, Joyce?
Well, there's no need to snap at me.
I'm sorry. You took me away from something important. What is it?
The Marstons have asked us to have dinner with them tonight.
You haven't accepted.
Yes, of course I have.
You better ring them back and ask if we can postpone it.
Why? You won't be late tonight, will you?
I might be. You remember the girl I told you about? The one I saw in Peter Lloyd's flat last night?
Yes.
She walked in here 10 minutes ago. She pretended to be looking for a car. Actually, she came to warn me to give up trying to find Sheila Ramsey.
You told me you had given up.
I know, but this girl could work for the Excelsior Club.
What did you say her name was?
Carol Ransom. Joyce, something must have happened to make her come to me. I've no idea what it is, but I intend to take advantage of it.
You've just said she came to warn you. Take her advice and...
I can't. I know I gave you my word, but forcing these people into doing something that'll give them away is my only chance. I'm going to ask this girl to meet me when I finish here tonight and... Hello? Hello? Damn. Mr. Rodney?
Yeah?
The girl I was talking to. Do you know where she is?
The blonde job with the deluxe finish?
Yes.
She cleared off just after you'd left her.
Blast.
Did you think she was going to put some commission in your pocket?
I thought she was going to do more than that for me. Anyway, I can find her again. I know where she lives.
Good evening, Mr. Marsh.
Why, Miss Everard. I didn't expect to find you here.
Well, I had to go into town this afternoon. I thought I'd call on the way home and see if you had any news. You don't mind, do you?
No, certainly not. Have you been here long?
Only a minute or two. I tried your doorbell, but no one answered. I was just going when you came up the stairs.
Oh, well, my wife should be in. Come in, Miss Everard.
Thank you.
Joyce? Joyce! Excuse me a moment.
Yes.
Good Lord.
What is it? Is anything wrong?
I don't know. I thought my wife might have left a message. I've been looking on her dressing table. That's where she usually leaves any notes for me. Some of her things have gone.
Are you sure?
Yes. Normally it's cluttered with makeup stuff and so on. I haven't seen it as empty as this since the last time she went to stay with her mother. Just a minute. Some of her clothes are missing out of her wardrobe.
You're more observant than most husbands, if you can tell that, just by looking in there.
No, as a matter of fact, she asked me to do something about the catch. The door wouldn't close.
Oh.
It wasn't the catch, though. It was the amount of clothes she had in here. They were forcing the door open. Look at it now. The door closes quite easily. I better look in the spare room. I expect I'll find a suitcase is missing as well.
You mean you think Mrs. Marsh has gone away somewhere?
Well, that's one way of putting it.
What's the other?
I think my wife has left me.
Did you have any luck?
Yes. The woman in the flat next door saw Joyce leave. She happened to be looking out.
When did she go?
About 3 o'clock. There was a man with her. He carried the suitcase. They got in a car parked outside.
A chauffeur with a private hire car taking her to the station.
Possibly. Where the devil was she making for, though? The most likely place would be her mother's, but well, she hadn't arrived there when I phoned.
She'll get in touch with you when she's ready.
Maybe. But if she's gone because I broke my word to her, I'd have expected her to leave a note telling me when I could contact her. Then the next move would have to come from me.
You know, I can't help thinking about this man who was with your wife this afternoon. Could he have been, well, someone who'd been trying to persuade your wife to leave you?
I never suspected Joyce was interested in anyone, but, well, considering the existence we've led lately, it's not out of the question, I suppose. Ah, perhaps she's changed her mind and come back. Excuse me.
Yes, of course.
Telegram, sir.
Oh, thank you. There's no reply. There. Here you are, son.
Oh, Tom. Night, sir.
Good night. Listen to this. I've gone away because I have no choice. Derek Brown has come between us. Forget him, and I may be able to come home. Joyce.
Derek Brown. That was the name on your checks, wasn't it?
Yeah?
Well, then she's definitely gone away because you broke your promise.
That's how it looks. On second thoughts, though, I don't believe Joyce sent this telegram.
Why not?
I'm positive I never mentioned to her the name my checks had been signed with. There were so many other things to tell her that was one detail that didn't seem important.
Then who sent the telegram?
I don't know. But my guess is they were connected with the Excelsior Club. Listen to the message again. I have gone away because I have no choice. Derek Brown has come between us. Forget him, and I may be able to come home. Do you know what I think that means?
What?
Stop being a damned nuisance if you ever want to see your wife again.
Pressure of the very worst kind. And it adds one more level to the terrifying threats that surround Andrew Marsh, no matter where he turns. This was Chapter 3 of Find the Lady by David Ellis. In the cast, you heard Noel Johnson as Andrew, Angela Carstairs as Margaret, Fenella Hasbrook as Joyce, Nigel Lindstrom as Peter Lloyd, Roselle Seeley-Thorpe as Carol Ransom, and Charles Berry as Mr. Rudney. Next week, Andrew Marsh gets his car back. But that's about the only good news. And even then, there's a high price to pay.
Well, I believe you ran him down because he was going to talk. Now we'll go for a walk.
Where to?
Round the back of the station. Your car is in the yard there.
That unrolls in Chapter 4 of Find the Lady. I'm Bob Boving, thanking you for listening and inviting your comments. Our coordinating producer is Barry Morgan. The executive producer of the Mystery Project is Bill Howell. See you next week. We're midway through our serial designed for the summer vacation season. It's called Find the Lady by David Ellis. Andrew Marsh opened his front door to the police one day to find that a full-scale deadly plot had landed squarely in his lap. It started with the loss of his checkbook. Andrew believes a girl named Sheila Ramsey stole his checks when he was visiting her apartment, but she has disappeared. His friend Roger Sherwin volunteers to help locate her, but he's run down and killed on the street in a case that is labeled murder. And again, the police are looking at Andrew, since the murder weapon is a car that fits the description of his, which is reported, rather too late, as stolen. The search for Sheila Ramsey is now more desperate than ever. Andrew traces another man who lost a checkbook, only to find that he has committed suicide. His daughter, Margaret Everhard, joins Andrew in the hunt. Another young woman named Carol Ransom claims to know something important, but she too disappears. And just to keep all the pots boiling, Andrew's wife Joyce has apparently been kidnapped. There's a threatening note warning Andrew to stop his investigation if he wants to see her alive. Find the Lady, Chapter 4, in which Andrew loses his way.
I see that telegram, Mr. Marsh.
Certainly. Here you are.
Thank you. I have gone away because I have no choice. Derek Brown has come between us. Forget him, and I may be able to come home. Joyce. Oh, are you sure your wife didn't send this?
As sure as I can be about anything in this damned business. Look, I told you, she doesn't know that Derek Brown was the name on my checks. Well, analyze that message. I have gone away because I have no choice. In other words, she was forced to go. Derek Brown has come between us. Their way of telling me the checks are the reason why she was forced to go. Forget him, and I may be able to come home. Mind your own damn business, and you might see your wife again.
Why didn't they just say that?
I could have shown a message like that to the police. Put in this ambiguous way, there's no point in letting them see it.
What are you going to do about the telegram?
I can't do anything, Miss Everard. If I'd read the message correctly, they've got Joyce, and, well, we know what they're capable of, don't we?
Look, in the circumstances, don't you think formality is out of place?
Formality?
Miss Everard.
Oh, yes, I suppose you're right.
Oh, what was that?
I expect it was the evening paper. I'd better make sure.
Andrew?
Yes?
Have you had anything to eat?
Not since lunchtime. It was the paper.
Would you like me to get you something?
Oh, I don't want to put you to any trouble.
I was thinking of myself as well. If you wouldn't mind if I joined you.
I'd be grateful if you would.
I'll see what's in the fridge, shall I?
Thanks.
How about bacon and eggs?
Couldn't be better.
2 eggs?
Please. You know, this just doesn't seem right.
What?
Well, sitting here, deciding how many eggs I want, looking at the paper, while Joyce may be...
You said yourself you can't do anything.
I know. I feel so damned helpless. Like a man driving a car and the brakes are packed up. I'm heading for a crash and there isn't one single move I can make. Margaret.
Well, just a minute. I'm coping with your eggs.
Blast the eggs. Sorry, but there's something in the stop press.
Well, go on. I'm listening now.
A girl's body was found in the river this afternoon. She's still unidentified, in her early 20s, blonde, wearing a blue 2-piece suit.
It can't be your wife.
No, but Carol Ransom's blonde. And when I saw her this morning, she was wearing a blue 2-piece.
You don't think she's committed suicide?
Good God, no. If anything, she was murdered.
The Excelsior Club?
Yes.
Why?
Because they found out she'd been to warn me.
Well, aren't you jumping to conclusions, rather? How could they have found out?
I don't know, but I'll bet you those eggs to a T-bone steak that they did. They seem able to find out any damn thing they want.
If she's identified as Carol Ransom, it'll be in the papers later, won't it?
I expect so. You know, one thing's sticking out a mile. If they're so desperate to stop me playing detective that they have to kidnap my wife and murder Carol Ransom, then I must be as close to them as I am to you. But in spite of that, I haven't the faintest idea who they are. The only thing that's morally certain is that the Excelsior Club is their cover. Oh, damn, damn, damn.
Breaking your crockery won't help.
Oh, I wish it was somebody's neck. Preferably Derek Brown's.
Do you think you could get your mind off violence for a moment?
I'll try.
Does pop music go with bacon and eggs?
Personally, I don't think it goes with anything. I want to hear the next newscast, though. That girl might have been identified. Salt and pepper.
Thank you. Oh, don't hand me the salt.
Superstitious?
I'm afraid so. I expect you think that sort of thing's ridiculous.
No. I'll tell you what I do think. That bacon and eggs looks appetizing.
Wait till you've tasted it.
Is the stool all right, or shall I get you a chair?
Oh, the stool will do. May I take my shoes off? My feet are feeling very unfriendly. I've overworked them today.
Modeling?
Yes. What the well-undressed girl will wear on the beach next year.
You like doing that sort of thing?
I like the money. Do you mind?
Well, it's nothing to do with me, is it? But I thought you'd have gone in for, fur coats, dresses. Anything except that beachwear stuff.
You mean in my case, clothes do make the woman?
Good grief, no, I didn't mean that at all.
Well, at least you're not undecided about it.
No, I shouldn't think the cameramen are either.
Oh, I don't mean anything more to them than... Well, then that bacon means to you.
If you knew how much I'm enjoying it, you wouldn't say that.
You're not the slightest bit old-fashioned, are you?
I didn't think I was.
Oh. Tea or coffee?
Tea, please.
I'll put the kettle on. Andrew?
Yes?
I got a confession to make.
Ha! You prefer coffee?
I wish that was all it was. I haven't been completely honest with you.
In what way?
I could have given you more help than I have. Much more. There's a very good reason why I suppose deceived you is the only way to describe it.
Go on.
That reason still stands, but... Well, after what's happened to your wife,
Damn.
Well, you'll have to see who it is.
I think it's more important to listen to you.
It could be news about Joyce. If you're right about that telegram, they're bound to follow it up, to make sure you understood the message. Oh, please, Andrew, I won't run away.
Well, all right. Keep out of sight, though.
Right.
If it's a messenger from the Excelsior Club, I don't think we ought to let them know that you're here.
I was beginning to think you weren't going to answer the bell. Good evening, Mr. Marsh.
Good evening, Sergeant.
I've been expecting you to call at the station.
Why, what? Oh, good Lord, my car. I'd completely forgotten about it.
Other things on your mind, I dare say.
Yes, I've been busy at work. Matter of fact, I haven't been home long. Look, I'll be with you in half an hour. That be all right?
No, Mr. Marsh, it won't. I'll wait for you.
Oh, please yourself. Just give me a second to turn the radio off and get my coat on. Go home. I'll get in touch with you as soon as I can.
All right.
Ready when you are, Sergeant. Oh, by the way, how long is this going to take?
That depends entirely on you, Mr. Marsh. Back to the station, Ted.
Where did you find my car?
Not too far away from here. Do you mind doing something else besides identifying your car?
Have I any choice?
Oh, yes. But if you say no, it won't help you very much.
What do I have to say yes or no to?
Taking part in an identity parade?
Well, I can't see any objection to that.
You can't?
Well, as I wasn't in my car when Roger Sherwin was knocked down, no one will be able to pick me out as the driver.
This isn't anything to do with a hit and run. This is a matter of another dud chick.
Oh, Derek Brown's still in business, then. Well, that should prove to you that you're wrong about me. I'd be a damn fool to carry on knowing you were looking for more evidence against me.
A damn fool, or an overconfident one. Anyway, as it happens, this check was passed before we got onto you. About a week ago, Mr. Marsh. In fact, the man who accepted the check is sure that he'll still be able to recognize Derek Brown.
Then I've still no objection to taking part in your identity parade.
Don't forget what I said about overconfident.
That doesn't apply to me. You'd like me to refuse, though, wouldn't you? That would be as good as a confession.
Not as good as being picked out as the man who passed that check. That would be real evidence. You know how an ID parade works?
I've seen them on TV. You'll have a lineup of volunteers, and I'll be allowed to choose my own place among them.
What happens then?
The man who accepted the check will walk along, and if he recognizes Derek Brown, he'll point to it.
Tap him on the shoulder.
As long as he picks me out, you won't care how he does it, will you?
Get rid of the idea that I'm persecuting you, Mr. Marsh. There's nothing personal in this. I just want the man who passed those checks and ran your friend down, whoever he is.
Well, it wasn't me. I am not Derek Brown.
It was your shoulder he tapped.
He could have made a mistake. Bring him into this office. Let him look at me again.
Not a chance. He's already made a statement swearing that you're the man who gave him that check for £320.
What am I supposed to have bought? Something else for my wife?
No, it was money you'd lost gambling.
Gambling? I've never gambled in my life apart... Where did I lose £320?
You know as well as I do.
Well, let's say for a moment that I don't. Where was it?
The Excelsior. You almost said that with me, didn't you?
Listen, to pass a check in a club, I'd have to be a member, wouldn't I?
Or be signed in by one.
Check their membership lists and their visitors' books. See if you can find the name Andrew Marsh
I've already checked them. Your name isn't there.
Well, then you...
But Derek Brown's is. On his application for membership, his address is the same that was given with those dud checks. Your old flat.
Yeah. Who runs the Excelsior Club? The man who picked me out just now?
He's only the manager.
Well, who gives him his orders?
That's nothing to do with us. Oh, you ready to make a statement now?
No.
Who's your solicitor?
Why?
I'll get him along here. Perhaps he could convince you that you'd be doing yourself a favour to tell us all about those dud checks.
My solicitor isn't short of work, Sergeant. He doesn't have to get me to admit to something I haven't done for the sake of finding himself a client.
I've got enough to do as well, Mr. Marsh. I don't need to waste time trying to make you see sense. You know, I think you've forgotten all the evidence I've got against you.
Here we go again, you and your damned evidence.
Think about it for a minute. I know what your motive was. It started because you were broke. You had to use dud checks to buy your wife the sort of thing she'd been used to.
I haven't bought my wife anything. You talked to her, you should know that.
I know you haven't given her anything yet.
Well, what's that supposed to mean?
You'll find out. Then you and Roger Sherwin realised dud checks would buy stuff that could be turned into money as well as presents for Mrs. Marsh. So you went into business together. And till one of two things happened. You had a row about the way the proceeds were going to be split, or he found out we were onto you and he decided to talk to save his own skin. Now, which was it, Mr. Marsh?
Neither.
Well, I believe you ran him down because he was going to talk. Now we'll go for a walk.
Where to?
Round the back of the station. Your car is in the yard there. This is your vehicle, Mr. Marsh?
You know that without asking me.
That's right. We checked the registration number. Look at the near side headlamp.
The glass is broken.
Correct. Now, some pieces of glass were found in the road after Roger Sherwin had been killed. Those pieces have been compared with the glass left in your headlamp. They're identical.
Look, I am not arguing about the fact that my car was used to kill Roger.
Wouldn't be any use, would it? You and your wife drove the car, didn't you?
Yes.
Now, we only found two different sets of prints, none, Mr. Marsh, belonging to the mysterious third party who's supposed to have stolen your car. Naturally, we'll check that the prints we have found belong to you and Mrs. Marsh.
Why bother to check them? You've taken everything else for granted.
Have you got the keys to your car on you, Mr. Marsh?
Yes.
Come round here, please, Mr. Marsh. Unlock the boot, will you, and check the contents?
Sergeant, your honesty is something I'll take for granted.
I want you to unlock it all the same.
Oh, very well. What the...
Someone's been shopping, haven't they, Mr. Marsh? Now, could those parcels be the reason why you didn't want to open the boot?
If I'd known they were there, they would be. Whoever stole the car to kill Roger planted them.
Do you know what's wrong with your story, Mr. Marsh?
I'd be grateful if you'd tell me. I might be able to put it right.
Till this happened, as far as I can make out, you were an honest sort of bloke who had a bit of bad luck. Not the sort who goes around making enemies. But if your story were true, then someone's got a king-size grudge against you. To want to frame you for the dud checks and for murder, well, they definitely have to have it in for you and no mistake. Now, you tell me the name of someone who wants you out of the way that badly, and I'll check and see if there's any chance of them being Derek Brown. Well?
You'll have to give me time to think about it.
That's the best you can do? No name?
Damn it, man, I don't keep the names of everyone I've upset at some time or another on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, it could be something that happened years ago.
I see. Well, you're going to have plenty of time to think, so let me know if anything comes to mind. Now, let's get back to these parcels. You see the labels? On a couple of them there. Rutland's of Bond Street and Wiley's of Oxford Street. Same shops where your checks turned up.
Yes, I saw that. Well, you'll want those parcels out of the boot before I take the car, won't you?
Where were you thinking of taking your car to, Mr. Marsh?
Well, home, first of all.
I'm afraid you won't be going home. I told you you'd have plenty of time to think, didn't I?
You believe you've got enough evidence to charge me now?
I'm sure I've got enough. Roberts, bring these parcels into the office, will you, and... Marsh! Marsh, come back, you damn fool! Roberts!
Evening, Joe.
Oh, hello, Mr. Marsh.
Busy?
No, sold 5 gallons in the last couple of hours, that's all.
Yeah, Mr. Rodden, you'll be going bankrupt.
I should go...
Joe, will you do something for me?
Huh?
Would you get the sports job out, the black one, and put some juice in her? I've got to give a customer a trial run.
What, at this time of night?
Well, he's going away on business first thing in the morning. Look, I'm going to make a phone call. It'll only take a couple of minutes.
OK, Mr. Marsh. Leave it to me.
Thanks, Joe.
Hello?
Margaret,
Who's that?
Andrew Marsh.
Where are you?
In the garage, the place where I work. Rankin was going to arrest me. I ran for it. I know it was a damn stupid thing to do, but I didn't have much choice. I couldn't do anything about the Excelsior Club from a prison cell.
How did you manage to escape?
We were in a yard behind the station identifying my car. The street gates were open, and I ran like blazes. Luckily, there were plenty of people around. They must have got in the way of the law. It sounded like bedlam behind me.
Didn't anyone in the crowd try to stop you?
Well, by the time they realized what was going on, it was too late.
What are you going to do?
God only knows. Whatever it is, I've got to keep damn quiet about it. If they have got Joyce...
I'm afraid they have. Before I left your flat, there was a phone call. It was a man's voice. He gave me a message for you. Stay out of our affairs, and we'll let your wife visit you in prison.
Maybe I better go back to the police. At least I'd know Joyce would be safe. Listen, Margaret, when Rankin came tonight, you were going to tell me something.
Yes,
Hold on.
All okay, Mr. Marsh?
Oh, thanks, Joe. With you in a minute. All right, carry on.
There's one thing you can do, and I'm sure you won't have to worry about anything happening to your wife, because no one can possibly know about it.
Well, what is it?
Talk to Sheila Ramsey.
Well, I have to find her first.
I can tell you where she is.
You can... For God's sake, why haven't you told me before?
There isn't time to explain, but believe me, Andrew, if it had been up to me, I'd have told you.
Where is Sheila?
Do you know a place in Kent called Kingsgate?
Kingsgate. Yeah, just outside Broadstairs, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Now, she's living in a cottage there. I'll tell you how to find it. Take the M2, and just before you get into Margate, you turn off to the right.
Shut the door, you fool. Do you want everyone in the club to hear you?
Sorry, Mr. Lloyd.
Where's Andrew Marsh now?
Well, right after Alf was on the blower to you, he come out of the garage. Driving a jalopy, he was. Sports car like.
Got the number?
Sure, Alf wrote it down. There you are, Mr. Lloyd. You're not going to turn him into the coppers, are you?
I don't know yet.
Let me have him for half an hour, eh? It's time you let me have a bit of fun, Mr. Lloyd.
You had your fun with a girl.
Not me, Mr. Lloyd. Alf wouldn't let me anywhere near her.
You know why, too. She had to look as though she'd fallen in the river, not been pushed there by a 10-ton truck. If you'd got your hands on her, no one would ever have recognized the poor bitch again. You want to let Alf show you how to do these things.
Like he did with that jag.
That was necessary. Where did Marsh go in this car?
Out by the Elephant, up to Blackheath. Alf said I'd better get back to the club, because you'd want to know what was going on. Alf reckons he's heading for some place like Dover.
Dover? Is he trying to get out of the country?
Dunno, Mr. Lloyd.
I wasn't asking you. Get me a drink, Max.
Sure, Mr. Lloyd. Can I have one?
Help yourself. When did you leave, Alf?
About an hour back.
So if Marsh is heading for the Kent coast, I should hear something pretty soon. Alf's going to phone me, I suppose.
That's right, Mr. Lloyd. Where do you want your drink?
Put it in the desk.
Well, cheers, Mr. Lloyd.
Yeah. If Marsh isn't trying to get out of the country, what the hell is he doing?
Eh?
Never mind. Oh, finish your drink and get out.
You won't give him to Alf, will you, Mr. Lloyd?
I might not give him to either of you. I might let the police have him. I don't know yet.
Have to ask, will you?
Ask who?
Him.
I don't have to ask anyone about what I do. Especially him. He's the one that got us into this fix. You know that, don't you, Max?
Yeah, Alf was telling me.
We had a first-class operation going, and he damn near ruined it because...
Because what, Mr. Lloyd?
That doesn't concern you.
Now, well, things will be okay again when this Marsh bloke's off our backs, won't they, Mr. Lloyd?
It's getting him off, though, Max. That's the trouble. He said Marsh's wife disappearing and make him see sense, but it doesn't look like it has. This time, I'll handle it.
Can I have some more orange juice, Mr. Lloyd?
No, clear out. Go back to that rat hole you call home. When I've heard from Alf, I'll let you know if I want you.
Give you a hand, chum.
What? No, I'm all right.
Shame your tyre didn't blow on the motorway. You could have got help there.
I think I can manage to change a wheel.
Yeah. Tricky, though, in the dark, isn't it? Got a match on you?
There's a lighter in my pocket. Would you like to get it? My hands are filthy.
Sure. This pocket?
That's it. Got it?
Yeah. Ah. Blimey, that's better. I just fancied a fag and all my ready matches had gone.
Yeah.
Then I saw you and thought, well, no harm stopping and asking. Here, I'm forgetting my manners. Have a fag?
No, thanks.
Put your lighter back in your pocket, shall I? Here you are, chap. How are you doing with those wheel nuts?
Yeah. That's the last one.
Well, I'll stick the dud in the boot, shall I?
Thanks.
Going far?
No. Just outside Broadstairs.
Broadstairs, eh? Haven't been there for years. Queer, that. Only the other day, the wife said... Alf, she said, it's ages since you and me have been to Broadstairs. How about a day out, eh, Alf boy?
Damn.
Is something wrong?
No, just nicked my finger.
Lucky if that's all that happens to you before you get home, mate.
What? How do you mean?
Well, no one's safe on the roads nowadays, are they? What part of Broadstairs, then?
Oh, a couple of miles outside, near Kingsgate Castle.
Don't know that part myself. Well, thanks for the light. See you again, eh?
Yeah, good night.
All right, John.
Andrew Marsh.
Andy, what are you doing here?
All the stupid questions.
I suppose you're looking for me.
Oh, clever girl. Now I find you, I don't intend saying cheerio and going away again, so how about asking me in?
Oh, I'm sorry, Andy. Come in.
Thank you very much. It took you long enough to come to the door.
Yes, I was in bed. Andy,
Hmm?
you weren't followed, were you?
No, not a chance.
Still, I'll bolt the door again. I'll feel safer. Take your coat off, Andy.
Yeah, thank you. Well, you're nice and cozy here, aren't you?
It's lonely, though. No one to talk to. Oh, I wish I was back in my flat.
You didn't leave there because your husband was on your trail, did you?
I'm not even married. You know that. I told you.
You told me a lot of things.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sheila, you could be back in your flat in a couple of days. All you have to do is go with me to the police.
I don't want to go to prison. I'd rather stay here.
Who said you'd have to go to prison? You could make a bargain. A signed statement in exchange for them being easy on you when you said your piece in court.
I'm not saying a word in court, Andy. It would get into the papers, and if they hadn't caught them all...
The police would give you protection.
I wouldn't even be safe crossing the road. You know what happened to Roger.
Yeah. Sheila, if you don't want to spend the rest of your life hiding down here, you've got to tell me and the police everything you can about the Excelsior Club.
How did you find out about the club?
Through some checkbooks I found in Roger's desk. They led me to Margaret Everard, and she told me about her father. Sheila, I don't suppose it's much use asking you to do anything for my sake.
Andy, wait a minute. How did the checkbooks lead you to Margaret?
Oh, do you have to know now?
Yes, I do. Tell me how you met her.
Oh, all right. I got her address from a shop her father went to in the West End.
Her home address?
Well, yes, of course.
When did you go there?
Last Monday. Sheila, what are you getting at?
What does Margaret look like?
Look like? What's another stupid question?
Tell me, Andy.
Oh, well, she's the same height as you, blonde.
She isn't.
What?
I'm at least 4 or 5 inches taller than Margaret, and she's nothing like a blonde. She's just the opposite.
Now, you must be wrong. This girl was living in the Everards' house.
Margaret hasn't been in their house for a fortnight or more.
What?
That's why I asked you about the checks. I couldn't understand how you managed to find her through them.
Well, where is she, then?
In Scotland.
Scotland?
Look, I had this postcard from Inverness. Only came the other day.
Let's see if I can make out the postmark. It looks like the 27th. Monday was the 27th. Sheila, if Margaret Everard was in Scotland on Monday...
She was, Andy. She must have been.
Then who the devil was the girl I talked to?
The only question we're prepared to answer is that you've been listening to Chapter 4 of Find the Lady by David Ellis. For things like who the girl really is, you'll have to come back for Chapter 5. I'm Bob Boving, thanking you for listening and inviting your comments. The executive producer of the Mystery Project is Bill Howell. See you next week. Where a 7-part serial is our way of contributing to vacation indolence and letting you escape into someone else's problems. We're returning tonight with Chapter 5 of Find the Lady, a mystery tale guaranteed to prove that things are never so bad they can't get worse. The play by David Ellis throws everything but the kitchen sink at the principal character, Andrew Marsh. Accused by police of passing phony checks, suspected of murdering his friend Roger Sherwin, finding that his wife has been kidnapped, it's enough to make a guy start doubting his good luck. The only thing that's gone right was finding Sheila Ramsey, the girl who can give him an alibi for the lost checkbook. But with that comes new problems. First, Andrew is now sure that he has been carefully framed by the people at the Excelsior Club, which appears to be the center of whatever racket is being operated. And secondly, Sheila has convinced him that his new friend Margaret Everard is not who she claims to be. Chapter 5 of Find the Lady, in which Andrew loses a duel.
You sure, absolutely sure, that Margaret Everard's in Scotland?
Oh, of course I am. Anyway, that postcard came from there, didn't it?
Yes. Do you recognize the handwriting?
No. It's the first time Margaret's written to me. But she must have sent that card. Nobody else knows I'm staying in her cottage.
Nobody, except the girl who gave me this address.
Who is she, Andy?
How the devil do I know? She was living in Everard's house. She knew enough about him to make me believe she was his daughter.
What does she look like?
I've told you once she's blonde, about 23 or 4, roughly your height.
Attractive?
Yes, damn it.
You've fallen for her, haven't you?
Don't be a fool, Sheila. I've only met her twice. Look, you'd better come back to London with me.
No, Andy, I'm not going to the police.
You might be in more danger if you stay here.
Why?
This girl, whoever she is, knows you're here. She could be working for the people who run the Excelsior Club.
But if she is, and they know I'm here, why have they left me alone?
Probably they were waiting until they could make use of you in some way. And they could have decided to use you as bait.
Bait?
To get me down here. Then someone from the club arrives. Shortly afterwards, the police get a phone call. A man says he was passing this cottage and he heard revolver shots. The police find us. Dead.
Oh.
With evidence fixed to make it look as though I'd murdered you and then shot myself. 2 interfering birds put out of the way with 1 well-aimed stone. From the Excelsior Club.
You've got a horrible imagination, Andy.
It could happen. As long as we're alive, we're a threat to the club, especially you. They'll find you one day.
I don't see how, if I stay
Sheila,
here...
for God's sake, be sensible. You can't hide forever. Come back to London with me.
And go to prison? Huh, no thank you.
I'm sorry, but you've no choice.
What do you mean?
I don't want to go to prison either. And if I let you stay here, I will.
You wouldn't make me go back with you?
Wouldn't I? Listen, Sheila. Those charming people you used to work for have got my wife. By coming down here to find you, I'm risking her life.
You should have told me.
Would it have made you say, yes, I'll come back with you?
I don't know.
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm making this decision for you. You are going to help me to prove to an obstinate policeman that he's wrong about me.
I'll write it down. Sign it.
One of the crimes I'm suspected of is forging other people's names. You have got to make your statement in person. I don't think you'll go to prison for very long. You may not go at all. Now go and put whatever you'll need in a suitcase and...
Andy, you said you weren't followed.
They probably know where you are without having to follow me. Put the light out in the hall. I'll douse this one. They may not have seen it. These curtains look fairly thick. Sheila, where's the phone?
There isn't one.
Damn.
What were you going to do?
Phone the police, of course. Where's the nearest call box?
Down the road, about 5 minutes' walk.
Right. Is there a back door to this place?
Yes. Andy, don't leave me.
No, I was going to send you, but there may be more than one of them. We'll wait.
Andrew! That's a girl's
Shut up.
voice. Andrew!
It's the girl that calls herself Margaret Everard. You hide yourself. I'll let her in. If she's on her own, okay. If there's anyone with her, slip out of the back door and run like hell to that phone box. Watch out in case anyone's keeping an eye on the back. All right?
Yes. Andy, I'm scared.
Good. You'll run all the faster. Now disappear. I'm going to open up.
Andrew?
Yes?
I can't see your face.
That better?
Yes. Why did you put out the lights?
Economizing. Are you on your own?
Yes. May I come in?
It's your cottage, isn't it? The lounge is the door on the right.
Thank you. Do you mind if we have a light on?
You pay the electricity bills.
You know I don't. That's very evident. How did you find out?
Does it matter?
No. Where's Sheila Ramsey?
Why do you want to know?
Is she all right?
Yes.
You are taking her back to London with you.
I don't know what I'm going to do yet.
Andrew, for heaven's sake, I want to help you. Why do you think I came down here?
Well, you could have a number of reasons. Which one are you going to give me?
I was afraid you'd find out that I wasn't Margaret Everard. I wanted to tell you why I lied to you.
Are you sure you're alone?
Yes, why?
There's somebody outside.
I didn't hear anything.
Perhaps you didn't want to hear it. Sheila, what the devil do you think you're doing?
Nothing.
You weren't hoping she'd left her keys in her car, were you?
Well, what if I was?
Get out of that car. I said get...
Oh, all right.
If you'd been able to start her car, where would you have gone?
I don't know. Anywhere. As long as it was away from you.
This isn't your lucky day, is it? You are staying with me. And as soon as we've heard what our visitor has to say, I am driving you up to London.
Who is she, Andy?
I've no idea, so if I tell her we're catching a plane for South America, don't contradict me.
Why not?
Because I don't trust anyone now. If we keep our plans to ourselves, we've a reasonable chance. Now come on, back inside, and leave the talking to me.
Hello?
Mr. Lloyd.
Yes.
I'll speaking, Governor.
Where are you?
In the middle of flaming nowhere.
That tells me a hell of a lot.
I'm just down the road from where darling little Sheila's hiding out.
Where's that?
A cottage. Near a dump called Broadstairs. Marsh obliged me by leading me right to it. He's with Sheila right now. Him and another bird.
Who's she?
Dunno. Couldn't see her proper from where I was. Maybe we know her, maybe we don't.
I went to school with Margaret. My name's Judy Randall.
Andy, can I say...
No. Stay where you are. Go on.
We used to see each other occasionally, and after her father died, Margaret phoned me. We met in town, and she told me how Sheldon Everard had been blackmailed. Soon after he committed suicide, someone phoned Margaret, a man. They reminded her that they still had evidence of her father's treachery.
She paid them to suppress the evidence?
Yes. You see, she's getting married next week. That's why she's in Scotland. Her fiancé's father is a member of the government. If the fact that Sheldon Everard was a traitor had been made public, Margaret's fiancé would have been forced by his father to cancel the wedding.
How old is her fiancé?
Old enough to please himself, but he never does. Tony's charming, but he's ruled by his father. Margaret loves him, though. She preferred to pay blackmail rather than risk losing him. Well, she made one attempt to solve her problems. In his letter, Sheldon Everard told her the name of the hostess who took him back to her flat.
Sheila.
Yes.
I didn't know who he was. I didn't know.
You can defend yourself later. Margaret went to see Sheila?
Yes. Sheila refused to go to the police, but when she knew what she'd been responsible for, she said she didn't want to go on working for the club. She was afraid they'd find out why. She wanted to leave, though.
They'd have made me tell them. Margaret told me to walk out and come down here for a while. She said everything would be all right after she was married.
All right. For whom?
For everyone, Margaret hoped. Well, she daren't tell Tony's father that she was being blackmailed before the wedding. He'd just tell Tony to call it off. But, well, once Tony's ring was on her finger, he'd have to protect the name of Everard.
I imagine he's got the necessary influence.
He has. Margaret hoped he might even be able to get the club closed.
Well, that wouldn't prevent the men behind it carrying on. Your friend Margaret hasn't any evidence that would send them to jail, has she?
No, but if the police were told about them by a man in the kind of position that Tony's father has, they'd watch them. That would hamper them, surely.
Oh, I doubt it. I think Margaret Everard's underestimating the Excelsior Club.
Perhaps. Anyway, she didn't want the blackmailers to know what her intentions were until it was too late. That's why she asked me to stay in their house. You see, they contact her when they want another payment and tell her how much and where to leave it. I was to pretend that I was Margaret and take their instructions. When you came, I thought they decided to send a messenger instead of telephoning.
You could have told me all this before.
Well, I'd given my word to Margaret that I wouldn't do anything to interfere with her plans, but, well, when your wife disappeared, I just knew I'd have to tell you where to find Sheila. I phoned Margaret last night and told her what I'd done.
What did she say?
She put the phone down. I tried to call her back, but she wouldn't speak to me. When she's thought it over, I hope she'll understand. In fact, I'm sure she will.
Why?
The reason isn't important.
Have you told me everything now?
Yes.
Well, what are you going to do? Drive back to London?
I thought I'd stay here for the night, if you don't mind.
Please yourself.
Andrew, are you going to use Sheldon Everard's membership card?
Use it?
Mm.
You mean to get into the Excelsior Club? I don't know. I'll have to think about it. Come on, Sheila, we're leaving.
Where are you going?
I'm taking her to stay with some friends of mine.
I thought you'd be taking her to the police.
She doesn't want to talk to the police, do you, Sheila?
No.
There might be some other way she can help. Until I've decided what it is, I'm leaving her where she'll be safe.
Hello?
It's me again, Governor.
Where are you now?
Outside the cafe on the M2. Canterbury's not so far off. Wanted a bird in there once, Governor.
Never mind the biography. Where's Marsh?
Drinking coffee with darling Sheila. She's yapping her ruddy head off.
It's all right for you, Andy. You're clever. There's all sorts of ways you can make money.
Yeah? I wish you'd tell me one.
Oh, you're kidding me. All I've got is some measurements I'm not ashamed of. I had to make use of them the best way I could.
In the interest of a gang of blackmailers.
I thought those men were just paying to stop their wives finding out. They could afford it, so I didn't see any harm. Anyway, they used me. Why shouldn't I use them to help pay the rent?
You could have got a flat that wasn't so expensive.
Oh, there were other things besides. I've always wanted a mink.
Sheldon Everard wanted to die naturally.
Oh, look, I'm sorry about him, honestly I am. When Margaret told me they weren't just making those men give them money, I felt like killing myself. I'd never have taken them back to my flat if I'd known. Really, I wouldn't.
Who runs the Excelsior Club?
I don't know. Ralph used to show us the men we had to take home.
Ralph?
He's the manager of the club.
What an overweight Uriah Heep.
Pardon?
Washes his hands all the time with invisible soap.
That's Ralph.
I've met him. He picked me out in an identity parade. Do you know a girl called Carol Ransom?
Yes, she's one of the hostesses.
Peter Lloyd?
Who?
Peter Lloyd. He's living in your flat now.
I've never met him.
Where does Roger fit in? Did he work for the club?
No. The checkbooks were his idea. He was always looking for easy ways to pay his rent as well. He had a new girlfriend who was costing him a lot of money. He joined the club and he found out I was taking some of the customers back to my flat.
Did he guess they were being set up for blackmail?
I don't think so. But he said if they lost their checkbooks while they were in my flat, they couldn't very well go to the police.
What did you get out of it?
He gave me £5 every time I stole a checkbook.
Did he ask you to take mine?
No, but when he introduced us, I thought that was what he wanted me to do. When I gave it to him and told him it was yours, he just said, poor old Andrew.
He used my checks, you know.
Oh, we didn't mean to get you into trouble.
I wish I could believe that.
I'm sure he didn't. Your checks were like all the others, just a piece of paper that he could sign with a name he'd thought of and buy things. I mean, it wasn't like stealing money from you and the others, was it?
You are an expert at justifying your immoral little ways, aren't you?
I don't know what you mean. Andy, why was Roger killed?
Probably because someone from the Excelsior Club found out about your sideline. It could have meant trouble for them, so they put an end to it. When they stole my car, it was a part of Operation Frame-Up.
What?
They wanted to make the police a present of a suspect for Roger's murder. I knew him, so I was elected. Another thing in my favor was that I was already under suspicion for passing dud checks.
How could they have known that?
Oh, they have an espionage system that could give MI5 a few lessons. Come on, time we were moving.
Andy, I'm tired.
You can sleep in the car. When Rankin comes on duty in the morning, I want to be waiting.
Oh, what time is it?
6 o'clock.
Oh, I used to go to bed at this time. Are we there yet?
No. You've only been asleep 20 minutes.
Talk to me.
What about?
Oh, anything. Stop me thinking about where you're taking me.
At least you'll be safe.
What's this Sergeant Rankin like?
Oh, don't ask me. I'm prejudiced. Where did you meet Roger? First of all, I mean.
In a pub. Oh, he was nice.
Come on, you idiot. You've plenty of room.
Who are you talking to?
This chap behind us. I pulled over to let him overtake. Now he's trying to crawl up my exhaust pipe. Anyway, you've cleared one thing that was bothering me.
Have I?
Rankin said that if someone was trying to frame me for passing dud checks and for murdering Roger, they must have a king-size grudge against me. I've been wondering who the devil it could be. After what you've told me, I know your late employers had nothing personal against me. I just happened to be a convenient stooge.
What you going to do about that girl? What's her name, Judy?
Judy Randall. If events prove she's simply a friend of Margaret Everard's, I shall apologize to her.
What for?
Well, for thinking that she might be connected with the Excelsior Club.
I don't see how she could be.
Well, someone's been helping them to be one jump ahead of me all the time.
If you find out that it isn't Judy, you'll just apologize to her.
What do you expect me to do?
She's in love with you.
Sheila.
What?
A car behind. It's close enough for you to see the driver. Turn round, have a look at him. His face looks familiar to me, but I'm damned if I can remember where I've seen him before. Well?
Well, what?
Do you recognize him?
No. Why?
Well, he's had a dozen chances to pass me. And in that car, he's got the speed to do it, but he stayed where he is. I've got a feeling that he's watching us.
Watching us?
Well, following us, then. But how the devil could he have picked us up? I'm sure there was no one hanging round the cottage.
You couldn't be wrong.
Well, if there was anyone there, they're damn clever at camouflage. Turn round again. I'll keep an eye on him in the mirror.
Can't just say goodbye to her.
What? Oh, you mean Judy. Oh, she's not interested in me.
She is, you know. You know what she said about Margaret? When she thought about it, she'd understand why Judy had had to break her word and tell you where I was.
I remember.
Well, she meant Margaret would understand because she's in love as well.
You and Sergeant Rankin should get on well together. Both of you suffer from delusions.
I wish I could meet somebody I could fall in love with.
Yes, well, you will one day.
You like Judy, don't you?
Sheila, my wife is being used as a threat to make me behave myself. I have disobeyed, which means I may be directly responsible for her death. This is hardly the time to ask me how I feel about another woman, is it?
Oh, you're not in love with your wife, though, are you? Not anymore, I mean.
Have I ever said that I'm not in love with her?
No, but from some of the things you've told me, you know, about the way you're always having rows and that sort of thing, I don't see how you can be in love with her.
Oh, I'm as much to blame for the rows as she is.
Why?
Because when you're wondering where the hell the money's coming from to pay a pile of bills, you forget to be an attentive husband. And that doesn't make for a happy relationship.
You're just making excuses for her. You know you're not in love with her as well as I do. And in that case, I don't see why you're so worried about what could happen to her.
You are a callous little devil, aren't you? Listen, when you've been married to a woman for as long as I've been married to Joyce, she becomes part of your life. If she's ill or in any kind of danger, you don't think about whether you're still in love with her. You just try to do your best to help her.
You know what's the matter with you, don't you? You're old-fashioned.
Oh, for heaven's sake, go back to sleep and let me drive. Oh, he's made up his mind at last.
What?
Our friend's going to overtake. What the devil?
Andy, he's smiling at you.
Well, he'll have us off the road if he keeps this up.
Get ahead of him, Andy.
I can't. He's matching my speed. The damn fool's going to smash into us if he doesn't. Open the door. Jump on it. He's trying to...
the door!
Can't! The handle's stuck!
You're pushing it the wrong way, you...
Quite sure, Alf. You didn't leave any loose ends?
Not a flaming one, Governor. You know me.
Well, you seem to have thought of everything. Where's the car?
Dumped near the river, miles away from where I nicked it.
Ah.
When the guy it belongs to sees it again, he's going to have heart failure. So's his insurance company.
No prints left on the car?
Clean as the parson's jokes, Governor. What did you do with Max when he got back last night?
Sent him home. He won't like it when he knows I let you take care of Marsh.
He'd have made a right mess of it. Probably left his footprints on Marsh's face. Don't know when to stop, Max don't. Business back to usual now, eh, Governor?
Yeah. You know, I think I'll celebrate the exit of the late and unlamented Andrew Marsh. You can drive me to the plaza in Park Lane, Alf. A champagne breakfast is called for.
Right, Governor.
Here's my keys. The car's behind the club. I'll be with you in 5 minutes. That'll be long enough for me to tell Mrs. Marsh the sad news.
Can I have a word with you, Mr. Rodney?
Just a second, Joe. Damn. These labels are a waste of money.
Stick it under the wiper, Mr. Rodney. How much have you knocked off?
I'll put another tenner on.
Oh.
What do you want, Joe?
Well, I thought I'd better see you about this bit in the paper.
What? Oh, Andrew Marsh.
Yeah, he was here last night. Must have been just after he scuppered from the coppers.
What was he doing here?
He made a phone call and he asked me to fill up the sports job, the black one. Said he had to see a customer with it.
He took the car?
Yeah, left here about 10:05 here, because I was ready to close up. He hasn't brought the car back, has he?
Well, I don't know. I've only just come in. I'll check up round the back.
What do you do if it isn't there, Mr. Rodney?
I'll phone the police. I can't afford to get on the wrong side of the law.
A bit of a nit, isn't he? Mr. Marsh, I mean, going on the run from the coppers.
He's a damn fool. What time you on today?
2 o'clock, Mr. Rodney.
Oh, do something for me, will you?
Huh?
Call at the GPO and get me a new license for my car.
Oh, sure.
Thanks. Come in the office. I'll give you everything you'll want. Now, where the devil did I put...
This what you're looking for, Governor? The logbook?
Oh, that's it. And here's the cash. 1, 2, 3... Here you are. 5 fivers.
Thanks. See you this afternoon, then.
Right, Joe.
Yeah. Is this yours, Governor?
What?
This. On the floor. Yeah. It is yours. Got your name on it. Membership card for some club.
It must have fallen out of my wallet. Thanks.
So long, Mr. Rodney.
So long.
Go in. Morning, Percy.
Morning, sir.
Any news of Marsh?
Oh, yes, sir. I've had a call from the chap he works for, Bill Rodney.
Elmfield Service Station, eh?
That's him, sir. Marsh borrowed a sports car from there last night. I've circulated the registration number.
Seen his wife yet?
No, sir. I have been round to their flat again this morning. There's no one at home.
You think she's with her husband?
No, sir, no. I'm wondering if he's our man after all, sir.
Huh?
I'm wondering if
Yeah,
he's
all right, I heard you. I suppose this means you got some new evidence?
Yes, sir. I wouldn't be having second thoughts about Marsh otherwise, sir.
No, you wouldn't. Well, what have you got?
Report from CRO, sir. They've identified those prints I sent them. They were Joey Driscoll's.
Driscoll's? Thought he'd emigrated.
Oh, he's been keeping quiet, sir. I made inquiries about him, and he was working for his living.
Doing what?
Croupier, the Excelsior Club.
Ah, that damn place again.
Yes, sir. Mind you, sir, I'm not completely convinced that Marsh is in the clear. But with those prints turning up where they did, well, it's even money that he's telling the truth.
Hello?
Was that the home of Mr. Sheldon Everard?
Yes?
Are you Mrs. Everard?
No. Who is that?
Well, my name's Fergus, Dr. Fergus. I'm speaking from the Medway General Hospital. I'm afraid Mr. Everard has been in an accident.
Are you sure you've got the right number?
Well, the only identification we found on the patient was a membership card for the Excelsior Club. It gave his name as Sheldon Everard and his address...
How is Mr. Everard?
Are you a member of his family?
No, they're away. I'm looking after the house. I'd forgotten Mr. Everard was still in London. I'm sorry, Doctor.
Well, that's all right.
How is he?
We're awaiting the result of X-rays. I don't want to alarm you, but he may have internal injuries. Will you contact his family?
Yes. Can I see him?
Not at the moment. Mr. Everard is still unconscious. Unconscious. Unconscious.
Bank know you'd lost your checkbook. The dud checks came out of that book.
You've come the wrong road. I've never heard of anyone called Ramsey.
You're accusing me of stealing my own car and killing Roger.
Murdering him would be a better way of putting it.
Those are versatile men, Mr. Marsh. They don't limit their activities to passing worthless checks and staging hit-and-run accidents.
I'm afraid you won't be going home. I told you you'd have plenty of time to think, didn't I?
Margaret hasn't been in their house for a fortnight or more.
Then who the devil was the girl I talked to?
You've fallen for her, haven't you?
I went to school with Margaret. My name's Judy Randall.
I wish I could meet someone I could fall in love with.
Open the door!
Come, the apple's stuck!
You're pushing it the wrong way, you...
I'll see him as soon as I've talked to Mr. Everard, sister. You've rejoined us then, Mr. Everard?
Yes.
How are you feeling?
Oh, my head aches.
Aye, it would.
How long have I been out?
You were unconscious almost 48 hours, Mr. Everard.
You found out my name.
Aye, you had a card in your pocket. You're a member of some club or other.
The Excelsior.
Aye, that's the one. I phoned your home. I believe your family's away.
Doctor, how is Miss Ramsey?
Who?
Sheila Ramsey. She was in the car with me.
You were alone, Mr. Everard. There was no one with you when you crashed.
So, she's gone again. And with Andrew confined to hospital, it won't be long before Sergeant Rankin, or someone worse, shows up to add to the strange labyrinth that is Find the Lady by David Ellis. In the cast today, Noel Johnson was Andrew Marsh. Angela Carstairs was Margaret Everhard, or Judy Randall. Celia Patton was Sheila Ramsey. Alistair Tremoncy was Dr. Fergus. Henry Stamper was Sergeant Rankin. Nigel Lindstrom was Peter Lloyd. Sidney Ogle was Elf. And Philip Gaskell was the police superintendent. I'm Bob Boving, thanking you for listening and inviting your comments. Our coordinating producer is Barry Morgan. The executive producer of the Mystery Project is Bill Howell. See you next week. We're now at the second-last chapter of David Ellis's serial, Find the Lady. Andrew Marsh has somehow managed to keep out of the hands of the police and ahead of the group of nasties who have tried to frame him. But he's a long way from finding any answers. Last time, things went totally out of control when Andrew and Sheila Ramsey found themselves being forced into a car crash by a murderous driver. Find the Lady, Chapter 6, in which Andrew wakes in a hospital to find he's not at all himself.
You've rejoined us then, Mr. Everard?
Yes.
How are you feeling?
Oh, my head aches.
Aye, it would.
How long have I been out?
You were unconscious almost 48 hours, Mr. Everard.
You found out my name.
Aye, you had a card in your pocket. You're a member of some club or other.
The Excelsior.
Aye, that's the one. I phoned your home. I believe your family's away.
Doctor, how is Miss Ramsey?
Who?
Sheila Ramsey. She was in the car with me.
You were alone, Mr. Everard. There was no one with you when you crashed.
But, Doctor, I can remember every detail of the crash. And Sheila Ramsey was sitting in the seat beside me.
You were the only casualty when the ambulance arrived, Mr. Everard.
Would you ask someone to check on that, Doctor?
I've given you my word, Mr. Everard. Are you doubting it?
Oh, no, of course not. Have I had any visitors?
No. The young woman I spoke to on the phone asked if she could see you. You were unconscious, though.
Have you spoken to her again?
No, she may have inquired about you. I couldn't say.
When can I leave the hospital, Doctor?
In a few days. Fortunately, you escaped serious injury.
I feel perfectly all right now, except for this headache.
Aye, well, we'll see how you are at the weekend. I'll be round for a look at you later.
I'd like to leave immediately.
I'd advise you to stay where you are.
Why? I don't see the necessity.
I'm the doctor, Mr. Everard, and I do. You're still suffering from shock. A few days' rest.
I am at liberty to discharge myself, am I not?
That's true, providing you absolve the hospital from responsibility.
Oh, I'd be willing to do that.
Would you report to your own doctor?
I'll do anything you want me to do.
Apart from take my advice.
Well, circumstances won't let me take it.
Very well, Mr. Everard. I'll arrange for you to be discharged at your own risk.
When can I have my clothes?
In a while, Mr. Everard.
Doctor, I know your staff have others to look after besides me, but it really is important for me to get to London as quickly as possible.
You're one of these big businessmen who are indispensable, are you, Mr. Everard?
I wish I were. No, the reason I have to leave here urgently is, well, it's a personal one.
Well, whatever your reason, you'll have to be patient. Before you go, the police want to have a word with you.
Just a couple more questions, if you don't mind, sir. Was there another car involved in the crash?
No. No, I think a tyre burst. My memory's a bit hazy.
Yes, I can understand that, sir. Dr. Fergus says you've been asking about a young lady. You said she was in the car with you.
As she wasn't found, I must have been mistaken. My memory again. Who reported the accident?
Another motorist, sir. He phoned for the ambulance. Did you have number plates on the car, sir?
Naturally.
We didn't find any, sir.
Well, they must have been somewhere in the wreck.
They weren't, sir. It's very odd, isn't it?
Very. Look, do you think we could discuss this some other time? I am in rather a hurry.
Yes, sir, of course. Where can we get in touch with you?
Dr. Fergus has my home address. He'll give it to you.
Oh, I see.
How far's the nearest station?
5 minutes walk, sir. Out of the hospital, turn left and keep straight on.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll be hearing from you, I expect.
Ah, going, Mr. Everard?
Yes. Goodbye, Doctor, and thank you very much.
Goodbye. Have you finished with my office, Constable?
Yes, sir.
Good. Did you get all the information you want?
Well, sir, between you and me, I reckon there's something queer about Mr. Everard's accident.
You're thinking about the missing number plates?
Yes, sir. They didn't vanish of their own accord. And then there's the gentleman's car. He isn't very worried about it. He didn't even ask where he could find it.
Hello?
Margaret? Damn it, I don't know what to call you.
Oh, Andrew, where are you?
In a call box near the hospital.
How are you?
All right, apart from a headache.
I wanted to come and see you, but I wasn't sure whether I'd be welcome.
Will you be at home all day?
No, I'm going up to town. I'll be leaving in about 1/4 hour. Can I meet you somewhere?
Yes. You can lend me something as well.
What?
Sheldon Everard's gun.
Why do you want his gun?
I'll tell you when I see you. What time will you be free?
From 5 o'clock.
Right. Meet me at 5:30 Victoria, under the clock. Have you got that?
Yes. 5:30, under the clock at Victoria. I'm sorry, Andrew. I had to wait for a taxi. How's your headache?
Oh, I've got used to it. Look, we can't talk here. We'd better go and have a coffee or something. Come on, it's over there. It's a damn good job I didn't have anything on me except Everard's membership card. Rankin's bound to have circulated the name of Andrew Marsh.
Do you think the policeman who came to see you at the hospital was suspicious?
Well, he wasn't happy about my story of the accident, I could tell that, but there was nothing he could do.
What happened to the number plates?
Whoever knocked me off the road must have taken them.
Why?
I'm blessed if I know. I'm more interested in what happened to Sheila.
She might still be alive.
I'd be surprised if she is. I ought to have left her in the cottage.
Oh, you weren't to know what was in store for her.
I should have guessed. But I was so concerned with my own affairs. I forgot that the Excelsior Club is next to omnipotent. I suppose I was followed all the way to the cottage.
You can't be certain.
Well, I can. Before we crashed, I saw the other driver's face. I thought I'd seen him somewhere before. And in hospital, I remembered. On the way down to the cottage, I had to change a wheel. He came up and asked me for a light.
But how did they know you'd be on that particular road?
Well, they'd been watching me all the time. Or someone told them where to find me.
Who?
That's what I'd very much like to know.
I could have told them.
You said it. Why didn't he?
That is what you're thinking, isn't it?
No.
You didn't say that with very much conviction.
Look, whoever's operating the Excelsior Club has either the ability to read my mind or they've had help from a fifth column.
But not from me.
Did you bring Everard's gun?
Yes.
Thanks.
I haven't said I'll lend it to you. Why do you want it?
I'm going to use Everard's membership card to get into the Excelsior Club. Now, obviously, I'll need more than a persuasive line in sales talk to make sure I get out again.
I think you'll need more than a gun, too. Oh, don't go to the club, Andrew.
I have to. They probably know that I'm still alive. Therefore, they'll have to think of another deterrent. They're certain to make use of the fact that they've got my wife. I've got to try to stop them.
How?
No, I don't know yet.
You can't walk into the Excelsior Club without some idea of what you're going to do.
If Joyce is there, I'll do my best to get her out. That's all.
Simple, isn't it? And what if she isn't there?
I'll have to make someone tell me where she is.
And afterwards? Providing simplicity is effective.
Go and see Sergeant Rankin.
You're lying to me now, aren't you?
Lying?
Yes. You're really going to the Excelsior Club to offer them a proposition. You'll do anything they ask, if they'll release your wife.
Why do I want the gun, then?
In case your proposition's rejected. I'm right, aren't I?
They tell me women are always right. Are you going to lend me that gun?
Yes, I suppose so. Do you want it now?
Please.
Give me your newspaper.
Is the safety catch on?
Yes.
Is it loaded?
I think so, but you'd better look and make sure.
Oh, I intend to.
Here you are.
Thank you. Would you do me another favor?
If I can.
Once I'm in the club, I'll have to act like a member until I see what's going to happen. Well, unfortunately, I haven't the price of a drink.
Well, Andrew, I'm sorry, but I've only got a few shillings. I went shopping this morning and I spent
Never mind. I don't imagine they'll let me wander around for very long.
I really am sorry.
No, it isn't important.
But you hated having to ask me, didn't you? When are you going to the club? Tonight?
I haven't decided yet.
You mean you haven't decided whether you can trust me again?
I must be going.
Good luck, Andrew.
Thanks.
Is this anyone's seat, love?
What? No.
Do you mind if I sit here, then?
Oh, please do.
Ta, I've just seen my boyfriend off on the train. He's in the Navy, you know. Shan't see him again for 3 years. I felt like having a good cry, but I thought I'd have a cup of tea instead.
So I think I'll settle for tea as well.
Have you been saying goodbye to someone?
I think it's very probable that I have. Have you any change? I want to use the phone.
Oh, what do you want, love? Sixpences?
Yes, please.
I think I've got a couple. Oh, yes, here you are.
Oh, thank you. I'll have to give you the shilling and threepenny bits and coppers. Do you mind?
Makes no difference to me, love. Ta, there's a phone box just outside.
Yes, thank you, I know.
You'll most likely have to wait. There's bound to be someone there. I'll keep your seat for you.
What the blazes are you doing here, Marsh?
I want to explain about the car and apologize.
Where is it?
The police will be able to tell you. I can't. But it'll be a write-off. I was in an accident.
You pinch one of my cars, smash it up, and then just walk in here and say you're sorry. You got a damn nerve.
I was forced off the road. It wasn't entirely my fault.
I'm not interested in whose fault it was. You know I ought to phone the police and tell them you're here.
Then why don't you?
I'm damned if I know. Now get out of here before I change my mind.
I'm not ready to go yet. I haven't got what I came for. Would you like to lend me £5, Mr. Rodney?
Would I? Would I blazes?
I'll have to ask you to think again.
Marsh, why did you have to get on the wrong side of the law? With your nerve, one day you'd have been the best flaming car salesman in the country.
Yes, well, what about that £5?
I only lend money when I know I'm going to get it back.
I'm different from most people who try to borrow from you. In fact, I'd say I was different from all of them.
You're right. The police aren't looking for them.
And they haven't got a gun on them.
Did you say gun?
In my pocket. Do you want me to show it to you?
No. And I don't want to hear the damn thing go off either. Here's your £5.
Thanks.
You hurt your head in that crash, didn't you?
Well, from the sticking plaster on my forehead, that's fairly obvious.
I'm not going by the plaster. Any man with a gun in his pocket who only asks for a £5 must have had a bang on the head.
It'll pay my fare back to the West End and buy a few drinks in a club I know. Thanks. I'll repay you one day. Good night, Mr. Rodney.
Yes. That'll be it.
Double whiskey, please.
Certainly, sir.
Not very busy this evening, are you?
It's early yet, sir. I don't think I've seen you in the club before, have I, sir?
Haven't you? Do you know if Mr. Lloyd is in?
Mr. Lloyd, sir? Your whiskey.
No, thank you.
Soda or water, sir?
Soda, please. I'll help myself.
You was asking about Mr. Lloyd, sir?
Yes, Peter Lloyd. I was hoping to see him.
I don't believe I know the gentleman, sir. How long has he been a member?
Well, he isn't a member. I understand he's concerned with the management of the club.
Is that true? Then I wouldn't know him. Excuse me, sir.
Hello.
Good evening.
You're Mr. Everard, aren't you?
That's the name on my membership card.
Yes, I know. My name's Shirley.
Oh. Can I buy you a drink?
No, thanks. Someone would like to meet you, Mr. Everard.
Someone interesting?
Oh, yes. Come with me and I'll introduce you to them.
Haven't finished my drink.
Bring it with you.
Haven't paid for it either.
Have it on the Excelsior Club, Mr. Everard.
Thank you. Lead on, Shirley. I suppose this is where the management have their offices.
How did you guess that?
Soundproofed walls, thick carpet, keeping out the noise from the club.
In here, please, Mr. Everard.
Thank you, Shirley.
OK, darling. Get back in the club and make the mugs forget how much they're losing.
Drop dead.
Nice girl. Evening, Mr. Marsh.
Well, don't tell me I've been brought here just so we can exchange details of our insurance companies.
Very funny, Mr. Marsh.
You don't look very amused. You did the last time I saw you.
I was enjoying myself then.
Ah, you enjoy killing, do you?
All part of the job, Mr. Marsh.
Well, you didn't do your job very well, as far as I was concerned.
I didn't have time to make sure. I'd other things to attend to.
Like getting rid of the number plates? Why, though?
To make the law scratch their blooming heads.
I see. What happened to Sheila Ramsey?
There's no complaints about how I did my job there. Do you fancy another drink?
Are you allowed to give away Ralph's liquor?
Who said it was Ralph's?
This looks like the manager's office.
Well, that's where you're wrong. This is the boss's room.
Ah, is he the one I was brought here to meet?
Maybe. How about that drink?
Scotch, if you have it.
You name it. We've got it.
Tell me, are you as free with information as you are with hospitality?
Come again?
If you knew where my wife was, would you tell me?
How do you like your scotch? Straight?
With soda.
Help yourself. You lost your old woman, then?
I didn't lose her. She disappeared.
And you reckon we've got her?
Haven't you?
You better ask the boss.
Where is he?
He'll be here when he feels like it. Me, I'm going to put my feet up. You better do likewise, Mr. Marsh. The boss ain't particular about how long he keeps you waiting.
Why should Andrew Marsh go to the Excelsior Club?
I don't know, sir. My informant just said we'd find him there. They were right. He arrived half an hour ago.
Didn't you ask your informant what Marsh is up to?
I couldn't, sir. They rang off. In any case, I was going to ask for a search warrant in another day or two.
Why wait?
I'd have preferred, sir, to collect some more evidence. But as Marsh is in there, I suppose we'll have to move in tonight, sir.
Yeah. What evidence have you got against the club so far?
Joey Driscoll worked there, sir.
Yeah?
And he's got cause to regret it, as we both know.
I don't give a damn what Driscoll regrets. He shot that watchman and paralyzed him for life.
We couldn't prove it, sir.
What else do you know about the club?
The Yard have kept tabs on it for the last couple of days, sir. Max Freeman's been a regular caller.
No, that moron, eh?
And he wasn't there during the time the club's open for business, sir.
One of their strong-arm boys, probably.
Alf Jenkins. He's been in and out as well.
Alf only works for characters who give him a chance to decrease the population.
Yes, sir. Oh, so that's all the evidence I've got so far.
Oh, good grief, Percy. What more do you want?
You think I should apply for a warrant, sir?
If you don't, the super will want to know why.
Right, sir. I'll make a special application. I'll attend to it now, sir.
Now, hold on. What about Andrew Marsh?
Oh, the Yard men are watching out for him, sir. No news means Marsh is still safe inside the club.
You been taking your time, darling?
If you've got any complaints about the service, you know what you can do with them. How'd you like your coffee, Mr. Marsh?
You mean there's something about me you people don't know? I always take it black.
Same for me, darling. 3 sugars. Any clients tonight?
Just one.
Who is he?
Ralph says he's some kind of scientific character. I've told Brenda to look after him. Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad.
I'll have my coffee over here, darling.
Well, get it yourself. I'm nobody's servant, least of all yours. How much longer will you be around?
Till the boss comes.
What time do you expect him?
What's it to you?
I want to see him. I think I found a couple of new girls.
I'll tell him.
I'll only be here another half hour.
Got a date?
Yeah. I promised I'd meet myself in bed at 2 a.m. I've lost too much shut-eye this week. And if I don't see him, he can ring my number in the morning.
Yeah. Shirley is your personnel manager?
Yeah, that's it. I'll tell her that. Personnel manager.
How does she find the girls?
Well, through the old labour exchange. We'd all have been signing on if you'd been around much longer.
Oh, I didn't realize I'd been such an obstacle.
You were a flaming nuisance, Tosh. Even a mug like you could have got lucky. We had to go kind of easy till you've been taken care of. Hi, boss.
Go get yourself some driving lessons, Alf.
Well, anyone can make a mistake, boss. I'll make sure of him next time.
Next time, I'm going to give him to Max. Now get out.
Boss!
I said get out.
Okay, I'm going.
Sorry if I've kept you waiting, Mr. Marsh.
Oh, that's all right. Alf's been entertaining me.
How did you get hold of Sheldon Everard's membership card?
Don't you know, Mr. Lloyd?
I wouldn't ask you if I did.
I thought someone might have told you they'd given it to me.
Someone?
If you don't know who I mean, I'm not going to enlighten you, but I'm very grateful to you.
Why?
You've shown me I was wrong to mistrust them.
I like to oblige. How is Everard's daughter?
I'm Andrew Marsh, civilian.
What the hell's that supposed to mean?
It's the nearest I can get to name, rank, and number.
Your number's up, Marsh. You know that, don't you?
Alf thought it was the other day.
Alf's got too short of himself. Like you.
What time do you arrange the firing squad for? Dawn?
I'll tell you when I know why you used Everard's name to get in here.
Well, I thought you'd have worked that one out for yourself.
Why should I bother? I knew Max could get you to tell me.
I don't think I've met Max.
Do you want me to arrange an introduction?
Oh, it won't be necessary. In any case, I meant to tell you why I used Everard's card. I want to know what you've done with my wife.
I haven't done anything.
You sent that telegram. Derek Brown has come between us.
Oh, I didn't, you know.
Well, someone from this club sent it.
I have a partner. The wire was his idea.
I'd like to meet him.
I dare say you will. What the hell was that about Derek Brown?
Don't you know what was in the telegram?
I told you I didn't send it.
All the same, you should know who Derek Brown is.
I'll find out. My partner will tell me.
Does he know where my wife is?
Yes, so do I.
You said...
You asked me what I'd done with her. That's a different question entirely.
Let her go.
Why should we?
You can't keep her a prisoner indefinitely.
Nobody said we were going to. Can I get you a drink?
No, thanks. Oh, by the way, Alf should have given you a message.
Who from?
Shirley. She's found 2 more girls she wants to talk to you about. I imagine they're replacements for Carol Ransom and Sheila Ramsey.
Oh, that's one you've worked out for yourself, is it?
Carol was the unidentified girl they found on the river, wasn't she? And Sheila will be found in the same place, I suppose.
Sheila won't be the only one. How much did she tell you?
Well, she couldn't tell me very much, could she? She wasn't initiated into the inner circle, as Carol was.
Carol was a stupid bitch. She didn't know what she was well off.
How did you know she'd been to see me?
I'm Peter Lloyd, a civilian.
Yeah. How about this one, then? Where's my wife?
Not too far away.
Well, I'd like to see her.
What's that? A last request?
Call it that if you like.
Give me one good reason why I should grant it.
I'll give you 6 good reasons. Everard's membership card wasn't his only possession that I borrowed.
Quite the friend of the family, aren't you?
Are you going to show me where my wife is?
Am I hell?
Have you a last request, then?
Pull that trigger, and in 1 minute, half the staff will be in here.
I don't think so. They didn't blindfold me. I saw your elaborate soundproofing. Let's find out how good it is. Shall we keep still, Mr. Lloyd? It's some time since I used a gun. Now, we'll wait and see if anyone runs to your rescue. If they don't...
They won't, Andrew, old man.
Roger Sherwin.
But fortunately, we won't need them. Now, please don't try to be a hero again. I dislike shooting old friends in the back.
Where the hell have you been, Roger?
Don't ask awkward questions in front of outsiders, Peter. Take Andrew's gun. Perhaps you'd let Alf have it. Literally, I mean. Telling us dear old Andrew was killed in the crash was bad enough. But neglecting to search him, that's unforgivable.
Max is in the club. He's been begging for a job.
Then tell him to invite Alf to join him in an early morning stroll by the river. He'll understand. Not over the phone, Peter. Tell him personally.
Would you like to put that differently, Roger?
Differently? Oh, of course. Do you mind telling him, Peter?
That's better. Who's Derek Brown?
Derek Brown?
Yes, you used that name in the telegram you sent to your old friend here.
Oh, that's something only Andrew would understand.
I'd like to understand as well.
And so you shall. But later, old man. Now go and do something about Alf. Please.
I'll be back.
And how are you feeling after the accident, old man?
Where's Joyce?
One thing at a time, old man. You look as though you've made a complete recovery.
My recovery is due to good luck and the hospital staff. You apparently owe yours to a miracle.
No, old man. Nothing so unusual. Just a matter of finding someone expendable, persuading them to participate in a piece of villainy, an essential part of which was that they should wear my clothes, and making sure they carried 1 or 2 personal items of mine, which you could identify. I instructed Alf to drive your car with the violence necessary to ensure that physical identification would be impossible. And exit Roger Sherwin.
Where have you been hiding yourself?
In a retreat I established some time ago. In this business, one never knows when one will have to make an unorthodox exit.
And who did you find that was expendable?
Really, old man, your curiosity is insatiable.
Well, you may as well tell me his name. I shan't be able to use the information, shall I?
He was christened Joseph Ernest Driscoll. Joey to his friends.
Did he think you were one of them?
I believe he did.
Joey and I had that in common. I wonder what his opinion of you is now.
Possibly the same as yours. Anyway, if there's any truth in the theory of another life after this one, you'll be able to ask him. But before you do so, I have another associate I want you to meet.
Who is it?
You'll find out, old man, in approximately 5 minutes from now.
This could be the longest 5 minutes of Andrew's life, since we won't pick up the action for 7 days. In the cast today, Noel Johnson was Andrew Marsh. Angela Carstairs was Judy Randall. Alistair Tremonti was Dr. Fergus. Garth Merriweather was Max. Henry Stamper was Sergeant Rankin. Clive Mannering was the restored Roger Sherwin. Nigel Lindstrom was Peter Lloyd. Melissa Flowers was Shirley, and Philip Gaskell was the detective inspector. Also appearing with them were Flora Wells, Jeremy Stiles, and Colin Asquith. I'm Bob Boving, thanking you for listening and inviting your comments. Our coordinating producer is Barry Morgan. The executive producer of the Mystery Project is Bill Howell. See you next week. We're ready to complete David Ellis's Find the Lady. It's been a twisted journey for Andrew Marsh, from police suspicion through murder, blackmail, frame-up, and kidnapping, to what may well be his dying moments as he comes face to face with his persecutors. But where there's life, there's hope. And if Roger Sherwin can come back from the dead, Andrew thinks he might be able to work the same trick. The conclusion of Find the Lady, in which Andrew gets all the answers, but may just lose his life or his mind.
What happens when I've met your other associate?
I'm afraid we'll have to say goodbye to each other, old man.
Do you intend to pull the trigger yourself?
Unfortunately, yes. Recent experience has taught me that if one wants a job done properly, etc., etc. How would you like to spend your last 5 minutes?
Getting that gun away from you.
I'm sure you would. And in lieu of that?
I'd like to see Joyce.
I'll consider it. While I'm doing so, there must be some other question you're, forgive me, old man, dying to know the answer to. The least I can do for a friend is satisfy his curiosity.
You're very considerate.
Not really. You see, there's one disadvantage to an idea like the Excelsior Club. It happens to be illegal. Therefore, one isn't at liberty to impress others with the brilliance of it. Unless, that is, one can find someone who will keep the idea to themselves. And in you, Andrew, I think I've found that someone.
Because the only person I'll be able to tell it to is the late Joey Driscoll?
Exactly.
Well, a lot can happen in 5 minutes.
4 1/4 now. Don't you agree that the club was an inspiration of a mastermind?
A warped mind.
That will cost you 30 seconds.
Doesn't Peter Lloyd share the credit for the idea?
No. His sole contribution was the one thing I lacked, capital. Peter ran a club in the north somewhere. Before he met me, the sole extent of his criminal activities was watering the spirits in the bar of his club. But he'd no respect for the law. And when I offered him the opportunity to invest in the Excelsior Club, he couldn't get his checkbook out quickly enough.
Is he the sole shareholder?
Apart from the 5% that belongs to me.
What would he do if the police discovered that the Excelsior Club was a camouflage for a blackmail organization?
He'd swear he knew nothing about it. Unfortunately, he might get away with it. In that respect, he's shown more aptitude for taking care of himself than I would have thought possible. He's made sure there's no evidence to connect him with our extracurricular activities.
You've kept in the background as well. Sheila thought you were simply a member of the club.
Dear Sheila. She was very useful. I was sorry when she realized she had a conscience.
Peter Lloyd doesn't know about the dud checks, does he?
No. You shouldn't have mentioned Derek Brown, you know, Andrew. I shall have to think of a way to explain him to Peter.
I'd like to be here when you do it.
I dare say you would. I can't risk your interrupting. Sorry, old man.
Why were the checks necessary?
5% of the club doesn't pay big dividends. Not big enough, that is. And mine weren't the only expensive tastes I had to cater for.
A girlfriend?
An inadequate way to describe the lady, but it'll do.
Do I know her?
No, you don't, old man. Returning to Sheila, I was able to help her with her favourite hobby. She collected fivers, you know.
So she told me.
Consequently, she reciprocated by assisting me with my spare-time occupation.
Collecting checkbooks.
They're far more rewarding than first editions.
Did you intend her to help herself to my checkbook?
Why do you think I introduced you to her? Because your lonely state aroused my sympathy.
I did think so at the time.
You don't now, though.
No. But what was your reason for involving me? I'm not thinking so much about the checks. If you were so desperate for money, mine were as good as anybody's. I'm talking about your death in the hit-and-run accident. Why did you have to steal my car?
Unfortunately, old man, you've left the really vital questions until it's too late for me to answer them. You've only 2.5 minutes left. And as I've decided to let you see your wife, your curiosity on those points will have to remain unsatisfied. For the moment, anyway. Open the door, Andrew. Thank you. Turn to the left and go up the stairs. Don't forget I'm a respectful distance behind you, will you?
What's going to happen to Joyce?
That is a problem, isn't it? And the difficulty is there are several solutions.
But they'd all have the same final effect, wouldn't they?
You mean she'd join you and Joey Driscoll? Not necessarily. To your right now, old man. There are other ways of making sure she'd be a traitor to her sex and keep her mouth shut.
Other ways?
Definitely. A woman can be degraded to such an extent that even the police won't believe anything she tells them. Open that door.
It's locked.
Locked? Andrew, there's a phone on the wall behind you. Lift the receiver and press the third button, will you? Thank you. This is a compliment to your resourcefulness, you know, old man.
Asking me to use the phone?
Yes. With anyone else, I'd have done it myself. But with you, I think it's wise to concentrate on one thing at once.
Hello?
Is it Peter Lloyd?
Is that Peter Lloyd?
Yes. Who's that?
Tell him you're speaking for me. I want the key to the, guest room.
Mrs. Andrew Marsh. Roger wants the key of the guest room.
What the devil's he talking about?
What the devil are you talking about?
We should have done this act on television, old man. Tell Peter I'll explain later, but I want that key now.
Roger will explain later. He wants the key now.
I'm coming up.
Why haven't you got a key to that door, Roger?
Shall we say Peter knows that as well as money, women are a weakness of mine? Joyce might have been able to persuade me to release her. Is that a satisfactory answer?
It's a logical one.
One of the last things you'll learn, Andrew, is not to place too much faith in logic.
How did the man from the yard know it was Roger Sherwin?
Well, sir, when I knew the dead man was Joey Driscoll, I got hold of a picture of Sherwin. I found it on his houseboat. I passed it on to the yard and asked him to keep a lookout for him. He's connected with the Excelsior Club. I thought he might turn up there, sir.
And you say he went in by a back entrance half an hour ago?
Yes, sir.
Inside of Andrew Marsh?
No, sir. He hasn't left the club. Alf Jenkins and Max Freeman are still there as well, sir.
Where are we now?
Tottenham Court Road, sir. A couple of minutes and we'll be at the Excelsior Club.
You're wasting time, Roger. He should have been a job for the undertaker by now.
I'll handle this my way, if you don't mind, Peter. Be a good fellow and unlock that door.
Next time I take a partner, I'll pick someone who isn't a damned show-off. Now, get this nonsense over.
You've no imagination, Peter. That's one of your deficiencies. After you, Andrew, old man.
Andrew!
Are you all right, Joyce?
Do you know, old man, I knew you'd say that. You really are too predictable.
Doesn't she look as though she's all right?
I'm sorry, Joyce. I know that sounds inadequate, but...
Oh, touching, isn't it? The blundering husband reunited with a martyred wife.
I'm staying to watch this.
Does that mean that you doubt my ability to handle the situation?
That's just what it means.
It sounds as though I was right. They do require you downstairs.
I'll be back in a minute.
I'd like to be alone with my wife, Roger.
I'd like several things that are equally impossible, old man.
Well, there's no way out of this room, except through that door.
Luck has been on your side so far, Andrew. It still could be.
Try and stall them. I'll be down. Roger, the police are in the club.
What do they want?
I'm damned if I know. But they've got a search warrant.
What are you waiting for? Get downstairs. Keep them occupied.
Well, what about these two?
I'll dispose of them. Don't panic, old man. It's probably just a routine raid. Making sure the tables aren't fixed or something equally stupid.
Suppose it isn't just routine. Suppose they search the office and find all the files.
We'll need the most eloquent QC in the profession.
Oh, no. You'll need him. I'm getting out.
You're not, old man. You've had 95% of the profits. You can take the same share of the consequences as well.
Go to hell!
After you, old man!
You can't go through there, Sarge. It's private.
Now, don't be a fool, Elf. You've seen the warrant. I can go anywhere I like. Now, get away from that door.
It's all right for you, Sarge, but I work for the club, see? If I let you go through that door, I'll get me flaming cards. And there's enough unemployed, ain't there?
You're trying to waste time, Elf. Why?
Me? Waste the time of the law? You're out of your tiny mind, Sarge. I'm just doing my job.
You'll be doing a stretch for obstruction if you don't get out of my way. Bates, keep an eye on this joker.
What's the hold-up, Percy?
Alf's giving me some back chat, sir. Any sign of Roger Sherwin or Andrew Marsh?
Not in any of the club rooms. Let's see what's on the other side of that door.
Yes, sir.
Looks like the officers. What the hell?
Came from up the stairs, sir.
Well, then get up there, Percy.
Yes, sir.
And watch yourself. Get on my wick sometimes, but I wouldn't like to have to go to your funeral.
In here, Sergeant Rankin.
Who fired that shot?
I'll tell you when you've called an ambulance. Roger Sherwin's wounded.
All right, you phone for an ambulance, Percy.
Yes, sir.
And Percy, who's the woman?
Mrs. Marsh, sir.
Right. Mr. Marsh, I'm Detective Inspector Adams. Look as if you've been mixing it with someone.
Yes, with Roger here.
What do you do? Try to run for it?
No.
He's been shot in the back. Mrs. Marsh, you'd better give me that gun. Thank you.
Can't we do something for Roger?
No, Mrs. Marsh, he's dead.
Dead? Oh, no, he can't be.
I'm afraid he is.
Inspector, do you mind if I take my wife downstairs? This isn't very pleasant for her.
Very well, sir. There's some officers on the floor below. Wait there.
Thank you.
Ambulance is on its way, sir. And we've collared a bloke who tried to get out the back way.
Well, that'll be Peter Lloyd, Roger's partner.
All right, Mr. Marsh. I'll be down to talk to you as soon as I can.
Roger fired at Peter Lloyd from the doorway. I couldn't see whether he hit him.
I didn't. His only injuries are a couple of bruises. When he saw the police cars around the back of the club, he tried to break the record for the mile, but unfortunately for him, one of my blokes plays rugby. When he gets the chance. Oh, go on, Mr. Marsh.
Oh, Roger was so anxious to stop his partner getting away, he forgot about me for a moment.
And you jumped him?
Yes. We started a wrestling match. I managed to knock the gun out of his hand. Joyce picked it up. Roger got me on the floor and was doing his damnedest to choke me. He'd have succeeded if my wife hadn't used the gun.
I didn't intend to hit Roger. I thought the noise might startle him, and that would help Andrew.
Have you ever used a gun before, Mrs. Marsh?
I've had one in my hand. I've never fired one, though.
My wife's referring to a service revolver of mine.
I see. Well, for a beginner, your aim was remarkably good, Mrs. Marsh.
Oh, excuse me, sir.
Yes, Sergeant?
The van's just left for the station, sir.
With Alf Jenkins and Max Freeman on board?
Yes, sir.
What have you done with Peter Lloyd?
Send him by car, sir. I thought he'd be better kept away from the other two.
Right. Don't go. I've got another job for you.
Inspector?
Yes, Mrs. Marsh?
I only wanted to say I didn't shoot Roger deliberately.
I understand, Mrs. Marsh. All the same, I'll have to ask you to come back to the station with us. You as well, Mr. Marsh.
Well, I'd want to come in any case, Inspector.
Organize transport, will you, Sergeant? And you can go with Mr. and Mrs. Marsh. I'll finish off here.
Yes, sir.
You can spend your time in the car bringing Sergeant Rankin up to date, Mr. Marsh.
I hope he's convinced now that I was framed.
I think he is. There's still the matter of the car you stole from Rodney's. I don't know whether Sergeant Rankin is prepared to forget that.
I'm more concerned about my wife.
Yes, I'm sure you will. I'll have to refer the matter of Roger Sherwin's death to the superintendent. Whether or not we charge Mrs. Marsh is up to him.
When will you be able to tell us?
As soon as the super gets in the morning, I'll be in touch with him.
What time will that be, Inspector?
About 8:30.
The car is waiting, sir.
Right. I'll see you at the station, Mr. Marsh.
Policemen don't go in for comfort, do they?
Perhaps the idea is to discourage regular visitors.
The inspector sends his apologies, Mr. Marsh. He'll be along in a minute. Oh, they've brought you some tea, then?
Yes, thank you.
I've just been talking to Mr. Rodney. He's not going to press charges over the car.
I'm very grateful to him.
He asked me to remind you that you owe him a £5.
I'll see he gets it back.
He tipped us off that you'd gone to the Excelsior Club. Did you know that?
No. I didn't tell him I was going there.
Well, you said something about borrowing the £5 to pay for a few drinks in a club. And you'd told him about the Excelsior Club when he wanted to know why you were taking time off.
Oh, yes. I'd forgotten.
He wants you to go and see him, Mr. Marsh.
You say why?
Apparently, he still thinks you'd make a good second-hand car salesman.
Oh, he's an optimist.
You'll go and see him, though?
I'll be there this afternoon, providing we're allowed to leave here before then.
You can leave as soon as you like, Mr. Marsh.
May I go with him, Inspector?
Yes. There may be a charge, Mrs. Marsh. The super won't make a definite decision till he's read the statements you and your husband have made, but if there are proceedings, they'll only be a formality. You've nothing to worry about.
Thank you, Inspector.
Well, we'll be in touch with you in a day or so. And now I dare say you'd like to go home and get some sleep.
You can take your car, Mr. Marsh. We've finished with it. It's still in the station yard. This way, Mrs. Marsh. Stuff's been taken out of the boot, Mr. Marsh.
Good. Are you off home now?
Oh, not yet. We're going to have another session with Alf Jenkins and Max Freeman.
What's going to happen about the two girls, Carol Ransom and Sheila Ramsey?
Well, Ramsey's body hasn't been found yet. But when it is, well, that's one murder we can charge Alf with. And after what you've told us, we can get the Ransom girl identified. Well, that leaves her and Joey Driscoll with no name against them on a charge sheet. The inspector thinks that if we work on Peter Lloyd, he'll shop the killer and everything will be wrapped up nice and tidy.
You're not so sure.
As I see it, lack of real evidence is the trouble.
Wasn't in my case, was it?
Don't hold that against me, Mr. Marsh.
Andrew, I'm getting cold standing here. Can we go?
Sorry.
It's my fault, Mrs. Marsh. Anyway, don't worry about those girls, Mr. Marsh. Their killer's going to hear the jury find him guilty. I'll promise you that. See you in a couple of days, Mr. Marsh.
Yes. Goodbye, Sergeant.
Bye. Bye, Mr. Marsh.
Something wrong, Joyce?
My key won't open the door.
I'll try mine.
Where have you been?
I had to go round to Randolph Gardens. I couldn't park in the Crescent.
What did you tell Mrs. Stewart when you came home and found I wasn't here?
I didn't tell her anything. I just asked her if she'd seen you. She told me you'd driven off in a car with somebody. The lock's all right. Let me see that key.
Why?
Well, there might be something wrong with it.
Oh, here you are. Put the fire on, will you? The flat's like a refrigerator.
Right. Here's a letter from your mother.
Thank you. What are the others?
Electricity bill and a circular. Why did you ask me about Mrs. Stewart?
She stopped me on the stairs. She said you seemed worried about me and she wanted to know if everything was all right.
Who did come for you that day?
Who? Oh, it was that horrible little man.
Alf Jenkins.
I don't know his name. He had a revolver. He made me pack a suitcase and go with him.
Have you put the kettle on?
No.
I'll do it. What's wrong with your mother?
How do you know there's anything wrong?
There usually is when she invests in a 5-penny stamp.
As a matter of fact, she isn't very well. She's tried to phone me.
Oh, well, then we've something to be grateful to the Excelsior Club for. They've saved us the cost of a reverse charge call.
She wants me to go down and see her.
I rather thought she might.
I'm going, Andrew.
Naturally.
I'll only stay till Saturday. I'll catch an early train, and if Mr. Rodney's given you your job back, we can go out and celebrate.
When do you want to go to your mother's?
As soon as I've had a bath and packed a case.
I'll go.
Hello, Andrew.
Judy, I didn't expect to see you.
I phoned Sergeant Rankin. He told me you were at home. Is everything all right now?
Yes, thanks.
Who is it, Andrew?
Oh, it's Judy. Judy Randall.
Oh, of course. The erstwhile Margaret Everard.
Judy, this is my wife.
How do you do, Mrs. Marsh?
Andrew, you won't be long, will you? Goodbye, Miss, Randall. Nice to have met you.
My wife's going away for a few days, down to her mother's.
Oh, well, if you're on your own, could we meet this evening?
I don't know, Judy. I'd like to...
Please, I want you to tell me everything that's happened.
All right. Where shall I see you?
Victoria, under the clock?
What time?
Well, I'm not sure when I'll be free. Will you be in this afternoon?
Yes.
I'll give you a ring then. About 3:00. Oh, I must dash now. Goodbye, Andrew.
Andrew?
Yes?
You'll have to do some shopping if you want to eat while I'm away. Do you mind?
No. I'll cope with it while you're packing.
It shouldn't have taken you nearly 3 hours.
Oh, well, I'm not as familiar with supermarkets as you are. Have you finished packing?
Of course, I finished ages ago. I've been waiting for you.
Sorry. Joyce, do you know what this is?
Naturally. It's a key.
Yes. The one you tried in the front door. There's nothing wrong with it. The reason it wouldn't open the door is it's the wrong key.
Then the right one must be in my bag. I made a mistake. Can we go now?
This key doesn't fit any other lock in the flat either. I tried it before I went out. Where is the lock that it fits, Joyce?
I haven't the remotest idea. Andrew,
Sit down, Joyce.
I was going to say I'm in a hurry.
I know. But I want you to stay and listen to me. If you prefer to stand, that's up to you.
Won't it wait till I come home?
No, it won't.
Very well.
While I was out shopping, I started thinking about this key. How did it come to be in your handbag?
Andrew, it's only a key. I can't see why you're making all this fuss.
I'll tell you then. I had an interesting thought about this key. It occurred to me that it might fit a lock in the Excelsior Club. To be exact, the lock on the door of what Roger called the guest room.
Don't be ridiculous.
Joyce, I've been trying to find the answers to several questions. Questions like, why were Roger and Peter Lloyd surprised to find that door locked? Why was Roger so evasive about some things, yet prepared to go into detailed explanations about others? And why did Peter label him a show-off? If I'm right about the key, then I believe I know the answers to those questions now.
Really?
Roger was evasive because he was preparing a shock for me. Before he sent me to join Joey Driscoll, he was going to tell me the truth about you. You were his other associate. It would have been in keeping with his flair for the dramatic, and it would have justified Peter Lloyd's label of show-off. You didn't know Roger's intentions, so you locked the door from the inside. To keep up the pretense that you were a prisoner, you put the key in your handbag and forgot about it.
Do you know what I think, Andrew? Playing detective has affected your mind.
In one way, I wish you were right, because the alternative is that you killed Roger deliberately.
I killed... You know I did it to save you.
Did you? Or was it to save yourself? You see, I could make out a very good case for murder against you. I can even tell you your motive. It hinges on 2 points that Roger didn't have time to satisfy my curiosity on. Why he wanted my checkbook, and why my car was used for the hit and run. My guess is that I had become an obstacle, am I right?
As I don't know what you're talking about, I can't tell you.
Well, I'll continue guessing then. You knew Roger much better than I thought, didn't you? I'm not saying you were in love with him.
Why not? You're saying other things that are far more absurd.
Because I don't think you could love anyone except yourself.
Thank you.
Roger must have been attracted by you, or would infatuated be a better word, and for some time he'd been buying your affection. Then I lost my job. I no longer went away from home every week. Roger still wanted you, but he wasn't interested in marriage, not even with you, and you wanted his generosity more than ever. But could you continue to enjoy what you each had to offer the other without interference from me? Yes, easily, if I were on the wrong side of a prison wall. Between you, you planned Operation Frame-Up.
More guesses.
But if they are correct, I am no longer in doubt about one thing. How they were always able to be one jump ahead of me. You were their fifth column.
Andrew, I'm going. I'll drive myself to the station. You're in my way, Andrew.
I always seem to be in your way, don't I? Don't worry. I won't keep you much longer. You didn't try to stop me doing Rankin's job because you were worried that I'd be thrown out of mine. You were trying to make it easier for the frame-up to succeed. Then, last night, when you heard the police were in the club, you realized the operation was over. But would Roger see that your part in it was kept quiet? Well, there was only one way to make certain that he would. It was in your hand. All you had to do was aim at his back.
Have you finished?
Yes. You were in this with Roger, weren't you?
Would you believe me if I said I wasn't?
No.
Then in the circumstances I can hardly come home again, can I?
It might be wiser if you didn't. Two people couldn't hope to live happily ever after when one knows the other has committed murder.
Knows? I thought I'd been listening to guesses.
Joyce, it doesn't take me 3 hours to buy half a dozen things in a supermarket. I went to the Excelsior Club. I tried your key in that lock. For God's sake, stop pretending.
All right. So you think you know the truth. I hope you find it pleasant company. Goodbye, Andrew.
Just a minute. You expect me to keep the truth to myself?
Who could you share it with? The police? I don't think so. For one thing, it wouldn't be any use, would it? A husband can't be forced to testify against his wife.
No. But if I gave this key to Rankin and told him I had found it in your handbag and that I had an idea that it might fit the lock in the Excelsior Club, he wouldn't need my testimony. By the time he had finished, he'd be able to prove you murdered Roger without putting me in the witness box.
Are you going to give that key to Rankin?
Do you think I will?
No, I don't. I've lived with you long enough to know the kind of man you are, Andrew. You couldn't sentence your wife to life imprisonment. And that's what you'd be doing if you gave that key to Rankin.
Hello?
Andrew, it's me, Judy.
Hold on a minute. Hello?
Is your wife there, Andrew?
No, she's just left.
Oh.
Judy, listen, I'm not going to see you tonight.
Why not?
I can't explain now.
Well, you've got to give me some reason.
Well, all right, it might influence a decision I have to make, and I don't want that to happen. I'll ring you in a few days.
And we'll see each other again?
I don't know. It depends.
Depends on what? Andrew, are you still there?
Yes. I suppose it depends on whether my wife is a good judge of character.
Do you think she is?
That's what I have to find out. But she thought I could be persuaded to give up doing Rankin's job. And she was wrong about me then, wasn't she?
I'll be waiting for you to ring, Andrew.
By Sergeant Rankin.
Mr. Marsh, is your wife at home?
Aha! And so, the moral and ethics problem is taken out of Andrew Marsh's hands. And Find the Lady by David Ellis draws to a close. I'm Bob Boving, thanking you for listening and inviting your comments. Our coordinating producer is Barry Morgan. The executive producer of the Mystery Project is Bill Howell. See you next week.